Hello, friends. Welcome to Virtual Strangers in the Night, your source for late night VR gaming talk. I am your host, Wes, and with me, as always, are my good friends. Ruuts, let's start with you today, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Just enjoying the week. It's raining. A lot of rain here. I should have done the rain background, but I'm not. I guess I don't have a hurricane barreling down on me, so I should be happy.
Yeah,
Heck
you're
yeah.
in the central part. You're in the safety of the middle part of the United States, so you have other problems to worry about. But not rain.
Yeah, not
Not too
rain.
much
Well,
rain.
that's at this moment anyway.
And then, of course, my good friend Eric. Eric, I want to say welcome back, but that really isn't like that. That isn't right either, is it? It's like welcome to your new home.
Yeah. Kind of new, fresh, and white. Really white. Might get
It's
some
very
paint
white.
here at some point. Yeah, it's echoey and white and empty and hot here in Florida, but we're here, man. We made it.
Congratulations! Congratulations on making it through uh, numerous weeks abroad and getting home safely. We missed you.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to get back to some normalcy here for a little bit and like kind of like get some shows under my belt back again, get back to the normal Friday nights, and looking forward to it. And yeah, thanks for having me back.
Yeah. Speaking of Friday nights, some of you might be confused why we're doing Strangers in the Night on Sunday. Well, first of all, it's 11:30, so it kind of fits. Second of all, we're kind of doing the show that we were planning to do on Friday, but I did not feel well on Friday. I had an extremely uh, uh, an uncommonly busy end of my week last week, and I thought, you know what, just so that I can have time to prepare for my Friday night show. I want to get all of my work done on Thursday night, so I literally stayed up all night on Thursday night, uh, doing basically 2 days worth of work in one overnight session, and I just didn't recover from that in time. By the time it got to be Friday evening, where I typically would be preparing for a show, I didn't even feel like playing VR. I was just killed. I was dead, and I gotta say, Roots, I'm glad. I'm glad that we waited because I got some rest, and I actually feel pretty good now. Like I feel way better. I'm ready to take Monday head on. Um, but I think we've got a better show tonight because we didn't do it on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we got to go into those games again, right? Or some of the games we hadn't even been in. So,
Yeah, well,
but-
in theory, that was what would have happened, but we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Um, but tell us a little bit about Gamescom, Eric. How was it?
Yeah, I mean, Gamescom was pretty awesome. I mean, Gamescom in Germany, it's like, I don't know, there's no E3 anymore, right? So to me, I think this is, for video games, this is the world's largest video game showcase now. And I think it's sad that the United States doesn't have, a gaming showcase that's this large. I mean, 350,000 plus people go through Gamescom, and it's huge, guys. It's like, I mean, Wes, you got a chance to see CES last year, so you have an idea of how big that is. But CES is the Consumer Electronics Show. It's everything. It's TVs and refrigerators and cars and, any kind of tech you can think of. This is as big of a size of CES, maybe probably bigger, but it's all games. It's all computer games and console games and some flat top, board games, and it's an amazing sight to see. And like, they have 11 different halls, and these halls are like huge airplane hangar size halls, and there's 11 of them full of games. And man, there was some VR there. You had to look for it, but there was definitely some VR there.
That like I always have the worst FOMO when Gamescom comes around because a lot of our friends at the studios are in European studios. So when Gamescom comes around, this is their opportunity to kind of connect with the people in the content creation space. So I always get all these like party invites and stuff at this time of year, and I can't imagine just how cool it must have been to visit some of the studios you got to visit while you were over there.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? This year was different because there was a lot of cool stuff. There was like more cool stuff like outside the venue than even there was last year. There was a lot of like get-togethers in the VR community of, content creators and development studios, and just every night there was a get-together of the XR community, VR and AR. There was everybody getting together pretty much every night of the week. It was pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome. So what you all are looking at on the screen right here is actually Eric's write-up and summary on his experience at Gamescom. This article is live right now on the XR Update website, which, in case you haven't been following along over the last couple of weeks, this is our news website that we just launched. It's still a bit of a work in progress, but I like how it's coming along. And with regard to this article specifically, Eric did a very good job. It's a very well written article, and if you're wondering who was there in terms of like the VR games that were there, this article is a good informative piece to let you know what was on full display. And if you don't mind, Eric, I'm going to just kind of scroll down the list here a little bit and ask you about a few of these games, because I'm pretty keen on learning more. Of course, I heard from a few people that Arashi, the final cut, the new version of Arashi, was actually exceeding expectations. Like, it was a really good version.
Yeah, I mean, Arashi, was a good game on PlayStation VR 1, but it, kind of had its issues a little bit. But you can definitely feel when you get a publisher behind, a smaller dev, you can feel the difference, and that was definitely the difference here. I mean, I played probably about a 30-minute demo. They were really, really great with their time to be able to, give you, sometimes these demos are 10, 15 minutes. They gave us, Skiba and I both 30-minute long demos, so we had their attention for a full hour, and man, it was polished. It just feels more polished. And then, we did play it on the PlayStation VR 2, and it just looks so freaking good on that headset. I mean, again, Arashi looked good on the PlayStation VR 1, but it's just a different story now with PlayStation VR 2, and a lot of that like hit detection problem, or the sometimes they had with the collision detection with the original game just wasn't there anymore. So I think with a publisher behind it, Endeavor One did a great job, but I think now you feel like they had some help with this one, and it just feels so much better.
Yeah, Skydance is helping him with this one, and when you think about how The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 turned out on PSVR 2, whether you're talking about how it looks or how it feels through those sense controllers, it makes you excited for a game like Arashi, because as good as it was, like there was definitely room for improvement with it. Like nobody really felt like Arashi had fulfilled the potential of the concept, and I think with this help that you're mentioning here, that and the new hardware, of course, they have a lot better chance to kind of hitting the mark this time around. Ruuts, I know you're pretty excited probably that you're going to actually be able to feel the wolf when you pet it this time around, right?
Oh yeah, who loves to feel the wolf and pet it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just psyched to see a better version of it, and that's cool that they the biggest takeaway I found from this article, Eric, and you explained it to me, like why were people having to search for the VR? Like the way you described it, like these little groups around here. I'm like, fuck, man, like I want it to be prominent in your face. Here's VR, and it's still in this place where it's kind of hidden. And even though that's kind of cool in a way that you described it, in a way it kind of sucks. Like why is it hidden? I don't know.
Yeah, it is tough because there's people that we didn't even find. Like I knew there was other people there, like that we just didn't even get a chance to see because we couldn't find them. And some of these development companies don't do a great job, because they probably don't have the bandwidth, is to get their name out there and let people know that they're there. So there was a lot of studios there that we just didn't even find. There was some that we didn't know that were going to be there at all. We just happened upon them. But I think eventually, or what we should do, or what somebody should do, and Orla Harris actually was there from SideQuest, and she was talking about possibly trying to do like a whole hall that's just like a mixed reality, XR, VR, AR hall that's all of that, where it's all in one room. And and I think that's a great idea. I guess the only difference is you don't get as many flat gamers, I guess, that would happen upon it at that point. Maybe they would just not bother going there. And here you get a lot of you do get a lot of flat people that just happen upon, they're looking at, say the Sega booth, and they just happen to see, Arashi there, or, Power Wash Simulator there from In Dreams, and they just happen upon it, and all of a sudden they go put a VR headset on for the first time. So, I don't know, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, if they were all there in one spot, everybody would be able to find them. So, or what Skiva mentioned, or somebody mentioned, it might have been Skiva or somebody else mentioned, somebody should put, like, a map together of before the thing happens, and says this is where everybody's going to be located for all the VR people. Maybe that's a good thing for XR update next year, Wes.
Yeah, I think that would be a better idea, because it's the sheer magnitude of this event is why it's so difficult to find the VR. I mean, you're talking about 11 or 12 different halls of games, and obviously most of that's going to be flat. So you have a choice that you can make. You can either take a hall and put all the VR in one spot and make it all easy to find, or you can spread it out among all the halls. And if you're doing that, then you have a much higher chance of traditional gamers kind of happening upon your booth and trying it out. So I think what you're mentioning there, X, probably the best of both worlds. You keep it spread out like it is, but you do a better job of informing people of where the VR stuff is at. Put together a map or an app or something to kind of help people find the VR that want to seek it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the developers knew there was a place they could go to say, hey, well, this is where we're going to be. If they knew that, like, say XR Update was going to put something out, and like, and they just knew to, like, oh, I better get a hold of them because I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be, at such and such a place. But Wes, I mean, and Ruuts, you saw in the article, I mean, some of these people didn't even have booths. You know what I mean? They were coming in as just industry professionals, roaming the halls with their Quest 2 in hand, showing demos wherever they could, because these booths are so expensive. So if you're an indie dev and you just want to show your game off, I mean, literally there was people like in the cafeteria area sitting down at tables with people and just passing headsets around. I mean, we happened upon this one group of people. There was like 5 people. There was like 3 devs or 2 devs, and then 3 people wearing Quest 2 headsets playing some kind of multiplayer game or something. It was super cool to see, just tucked in a corner somewhere, wherever they could find a quiet spot, but they were there.
Yeah, it's a common sight, right? When you go to these events, you'll find people often with their Quest headset or whatever in a corner. Like I remember at GDC going to one of these bars afterwards, and it wasn't like an arcade bar or anything, just a normal place where people go and drink, pretty small place. And there was a dev in the corner with a laptop passing around a Quest so that people could try out his his prototype, his proof of concept. I mean, I remember these guys were pretty excited about it and that it sucked pretty bad, but it was still cool to see that the kind of VR underground, if you will, at these events is pretty cool. Quickly, some thoughts on Vampire the Masquerade. This game coming up on us pretty quickly. We got to see a lot of footage of it last week, and I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, man. Was it as fun to play as it looks?
Yeah, I mean, this was pretty awesome. It's a really good stealth, vampire game where you get to feel like a badass vampire, and it looks really good. It's set in like in Italy, in some of these back streets. You're using a lot of rooftops. You're using a lot of shadows, and you can't openly fight in this game. You've been through like some of these demos, Wes. When you go to these places, they usually give you a pretty easy demo to get through because they want you to get from point A to point B pretty quickly. And Fast Travel did not give a shit. They gave you a hard demo. I think I died 5 or 6 times during the demo, and I almost was about to quit before I even finished the demo, and I finally figured the last part out. But this is going to be a hard game where you will be penalized severely if you attack openly. You have to attack from stealth, and I love that. Like, I want there to be a penalty for me not to go killing people and killing people openly, and that is definitely here, and it looks awesome, and your vampire abilities are kick-ass.
Is there progression,
Nice.
or did you see much of that yet?
There is progression because you don't have all your skills unlocked immediately. So you will like kind of gain these vampire skills as you go. You do have like this, like a gauntlet on your arm that has an arrow, and you gain different types of arrows to help you through the environment. You have like this acid arrow that will, like if you shoot it at chains, like on a drawbridge, will help lower a drawbridge for you and things like that. And you have some that'll like knock enemies out, and you don't have those all right away. You have to kind of open them up and unlock them. But I mean, I don't know how deep it'll be yet, but there is definitely some type of progression.
Ruuts, you'll be happy to hear that platforming was VR platforming was well represented at this event. I noticed in your top 5 here, Eric, the final 2 of these are actually platforming games. First of all, Max Mustard, a bit of a questionable title, but in terms of what the game looks like, I mean, this looks like a full-on like Astrobot style platformer for VR. From the Richie's Plank people, right?
Yeah, I got a chance to meet Richie from Richie's Plank and his team, Toast Interactive. This is kind of their first follow-up game from since Richie's Plank, and they went third-person platformer, which is kick-ass. The game looks fantastic. I got a chance to play 2 levels of this game, and it's really polished already. Like it's not ready yet. I mean, it's not going to be released for a little bit yet, but the 2 levels I played were super polished, lots of fun. Definitely give you'll definitely feel at home with like Astrobot. With this, there's a couple of things where you're just going to have that. You're gonna do something in the game, and you're gonna go, oh my god, that's Astrobot, or you're gonna do something in the game and go, wow, that feels like Lucky's Tale, because it kind of feels like a mix between the both, and it just looks really well, and it plays super super polished already. So yeah.
Why do we not have more platformers in VR in general, aside from the negative Nancy's that are always screaming third person sucks? There's no difference. I mean, aside from you've got some elements that Astro brought in to make it a little bit different, but like you can do it so well, and it's really, I don't think that there'd be that much difference as far as developing it, right? So we should have like amazing fucking platformers in VR by now, like amazing. Yeah. So
speaking of amazing, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say we need them.
Yeah, I agree.
Speaking of amazing platformers, Ruuts, we all kind of had a bad taste in our mouth after we played No More Rainbows because we felt like that game had a lot of potential, but it was all kind of lost in the locomotion style. So when I first saw this out of hand, and that it has that same kind of locomotion where you're pushing yourself along with your hands, I basically dismissed it immediately and said, I'm not going to waste my time on that again. We tried it. It didn't work. I don't like it. But with that said, Eric, I think Skiva said this was the best game he played at Gamescom, and that it's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really good. I liked it
I
a lot.
he was confused because you let out with my name and then you went to his name. So.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Hang on one second.
Oh, he's talking. He's just not coming through for some reason.
Yeah, I don't hear anything.
He said 1 second.
All right. Well, while he's coming back,
I'm back. Sorry, I was just trying to fix
okay.
my mic. People were saying my mic had a buzzing noise, so I was trying to fix it.
Okay.
Really quick, but I don't think I can. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. What were you asking me about again?
I was asking you about Out of Hand, because Ruuts and I, we covered No Man's Sky, No More Rainbows,
yeah.
recently, and we were very disappointed in it because of how janky the locomotion system is. And I was kind of like done with this whole idea of pushing yourself through a platformer, but apparently this Out of Hand, pretty good, right?
It's really good. Like, and I didn't think I was gonna like it when I went to do the demo. I was really skeptical because I don't say hate's a strong word. I don't really like the movement in Gorilla Tag, and I really didn't like it in No More Rainbows because I thought it was slow and clunky and didn't give me the feeling I thought we needed with something like that. This is completely opposite. This feels fast. It feels intuitive. You move around the environment so easily. This is another one of those, you pick it up really quick, but as you go, it's going to get more difficult. And so it's going to be something you'll have to work at to kind of master it, because these jumps and, trying to get through the environments, it's a platformer. So it's about, them giving you obstacles to get through. And it feels like Jupitergrad, but with a great motion mechanic besides doing, with, the way you kind of fling yourself through the environment and not with, with suction cups. But that's what it feels like. It has that kind of like Jupitergrad feel to it. And the graphics are awesome. I love the way it looks. It's got a cool storyline, but the controls and the motion and the way you move yourself through the environment are the story of this game.
So Skiva said that they pretty much had to kick him out of the booth on this one. He didn't want to put it down. And he played it for like a half an hour, and they had to make him stop. So what do you think, Ruuts? Do you want to give it another go here and try this one out? I had dismissed it initially. Like the developer or the publisher had contacted me and in our email, and I just wasn't even going to bother with responding until I heard these guys talk about it. Do you want to give this one a look, you think?
Yeah, my thing is just because one developer doesn't get the movement right doesn't mean another one's not going to nail it, right? And like Eric said, that was the biggest things with No More Rainbows. It just didn't feel right. It just, you know what I mean? Like, it felt clunky, and if they can do it, this is good, then I say we do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
so this
I think
game's
you
coming
guys
out.
are going to love this game. They like this. Like, you guys are going to play this game and go, holy crap, this is like Ven, but with the cool mechanic of kind of flinging yourself through the environment. It's super cool.
Well, this game's out now, isn't it? Didn't it just come out?
No, not yet. Out of Hand. It's going to get announced. The date is going to get announced this week, but it's coming soon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I know when this game's coming out, and you're right. It's coming out soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, stay tuned for more on this one. We're definitely going to be getting back to it in the very near future. Yeah, Out of Hand. I'm not going to go through this whole list. You've got about a dozen more titles listed on here. I'm going to ask you about one more, though, before we move on and say hello to the chat. Nox Noctis, the developer that brought out a pretty mid horror game for next-gen consoles a few months back called Do Not Open. They were planning on releasing Do Not Open as a VR title, but at the last moment they decided to pull back on that and instead do a whole new VR game. Instead of doing a VR adaptation of that flat horror puzzler, they decided to build one exclusively for VR called Overdark. And when you told me about this game and about your demo with it, I didn't put two and two together at first and remember what that exactly was. But now that I know, I'm excited to hear you say that it's actually pretty good, right?
It's really good. Like, I didn't know it. This was another one of those things where we were just happened to be walking by the booth, saw somebody with a PlayStation VR 2 headset on. I'm like, I'm like, what is this game? I'm like, I had to walk up to him and say, what are you showing here? I have no idea. And because the booth was pretty plain, it just had the name Noctis, and it didn't kind of click with me either. And we went in and did a demo, and man, this game looks really, really good. Kind of scares the shit out of you. Uses the use of a flashlight like super good, like one of the best uses of a flashlight I've seen in a long time. We only played like maybe a 10-minute demo, but really, really good. I hope they follow through with this one, because what they have here so far, I'm really looking forward to. This is one of the best I saw on the show.
It's interesting because the flat game got pretty mixed reviews. There was some jank and stuff going on with it. It was a cool concept for a game. We've talked about it a few times on our show. It's like a procedural puzzler. So like you play through a story campaign in it. You have to, it's kind of like an escape room almost, the way it plays. And this is Do Not Open. I don't know exactly how Overdark's going to play, but with Do Not Open, you can play through it. It's a fairly short story campaign, but every time that you play it again, like subsequent playthroughs, the puzzles change. So it has kind of this infinite replayability, because the puzzles are never the same two playthroughs in a row. So I don't know how Overdark kind of plays, but I like the concept that they had going on with Do Not Open. Hopefully they're able to kind of pull it off and achieve its potential now that they're coming into VR with the Overdark.
Yeah, give me like a lot of Resident Evil vibes. You know, it seems like it's going to be some type of adventure horror game. But yeah, it definitely gave me vibes of Resident Evil.
All right, so those of you who want to check out Eric's article, there's a lot more info than what we just discussed on there. It's at the top of xrupdate.com. I will drop the link for the website in the chat right now. Be sure to share it with your friends. Again, we're a brand new website. We're still kind of a work in progress. We're still kind of working to get things built up and get processes and things in place. But I'm pretty proud of what we've got going on there already. And we wouldn't be launching it if we didn't think it were good. We would have just held off for another month. So xrupdate.com, xrupdate.com. Tell your friends, bookmark it. We're doing VR news the right way. So.
And there's a lot of people in there. I mean, you know, if you want to hear, Wes is number one killing it as, editor-in-chief of XR Update, which I think we all kind of knew he would, kind of like what you were meant to do, I think. And you have your own articles in there, too, and you're going to be writing in there. So if you want to go see what Wes is going to be writing, go check it out.
Yeah, I'm planning on writing a few more this week than I did last week. Again, I kind of got busy with other aspects of my job and didn't really I did a lot of work on XR Update, but I didn't do as much writing this past week as I would like. So I'm planning on getting back around to that end of it this week. So stay tuned. We will have some content up on there shortly.
I love when Impact Reality is busy as hell, and we're like, hey, let's take a big bite out of something else and start our own news website.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's kind of one of the things I love most about working at Impact is we all have ideas, right? And we often just kind of share what we're thinking. And when we come up with a good idea, we just do it. And, I've worked at other places before, and it's like a year of red tape to even start on any kind of major project. But not the case with us. We dive in face first, and it's a lot of work. But, so far we're handling it pretty well. Now I imagine when it becomes a little too overwhelming, we'll just continue to expand and bring new people in, new talented people to join our team. But I like the group we've got right now, and I feel like we're kind of just now starting to hit our stride on all these different fronts that we've been working toward over the last couple of months. So, yeah, I love working for Impact for that reason. Passionate people with good ideas, and we just go for it and we make it happen.
Yeah, I wanted to address the fake news. The chat. Some people are saying they're hearing a high pitched whining noise. I say it's in your mind. It's not happening. It's not happening. But no, we actually are aware of it. But there's nothing we can do about it. So yeah, it's happening. Enjoy.
I don't hear it.
I don't hear it either. But I mean, if you look at the bars, like when Eric's not talking, there's a bounce. Something's happening in the background. So I think that's what they're talking about.
So it's definitely like background noise from Eric.
Yeah, it's coming from. It's on his mic. You know.
Okay.
But I mean, there's just nothing. Like he said, he already tried to fix it. So there's.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
Get over it, people. Suck it. This is how it goes.
Oh shit.
I already know what it is. We did this before. It was we last time this happened, we kind of settled on the idea that it's probably the cooling fan in Eric's laptop. And here we are again on Eric's laptop again having the same thing. It's not that bad. I watched it back last time and it was very minuscule then, and I imagine it's probably the same now.
Rogue TR says, I just muted it and it went away. Well, then, yeah. That's, you can read our lips. Yeah.
Anyway, why don't we say hello to our friends in chat? We do have a bit of a show to get around to here tonight. Old Darth is with us. What up? Rogue TR is here. Shout out Rogue TR, by the way, for who was it? It was our friend Antone Jones hit me up a couple days ago for a referral to I don't even remember what the game was now. It was one of the Toss. He wanted a referral to Toss. So I just put it out there in the bargain bin channel. Hey, does anybody have a referral to Toss? Rogue TR thought I was asking for myself, and he just went and gifted me the game. And I didn't need it because I've got it on PlayStation VR. I got a review key for it. So I tried to give Rogue his key back, and he said, just give it to Antone. He wanted the game anyway. Give it to him. And so I did. And then like 10 minutes later, he sends me a key for Virtual Desktop, which I didn't think that I needed, but we actually didn't have Virtual Desktop on our show account. So earlier today when I was trying to connect, I didn't have it. And I just went and grabbed that key and used it. And now I did have it. So thank you to Rogue TR for being super awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And Old Darth says, didn't notice it till you mentioned it, Ruuts. Now it's overpowering. I'm glad I could let you join the fray.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's like reprojection. It's fine when you don't know it's there.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Zorkon is here. What's up, Zorkon? One of the newer members to our community. Welcome. Thanks for showing up. The typical Kiwi is with us as well. Bluebell's here. VR Spry guy. What up? WDVR. Good to see you. D1360XR is here. T Peasy. What up? Let's see who else is here. Philozix is here. What's up? Alex is here. I didn't even see you walk in, brother. Good to see him. Zombie 5150 is here. Who else? Hugh Creator. Stop playing No Man's Sky to tune in. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I know we're not as exciting as breaking rocks and sticks for hours and hours, but pretty close, right? What's up, Tatum? Tatum's in the house. Awesome. Tatum is here. Mr. Lord Beavis is here. Chinatown D, what up? Mickey Barrios in the house. Good to see you, Mickey. Who else? Let's see. Alex, Tatum, Ryan B's here. What's up, Ryan B? What's up, Aceville? Good to see you. Man, Alex has been here for a minute. I guess I should watch chat a little bit better. Alex is here so he could vote on Game of the Month. I already know he's going to vote for it, too. Hooked Worm, the Hoosier Game Cat. How's it going? Not sure Brondo, Das Krautkat is here as well. Techno Glitch is here. Gabriel 004, the License to Meow Game Cat, here as well. Assassin 32 VR here. Jay, the Foveated Rendered Game Cat. What up? Looper, the Underground Game Cat. He says, wow, now Friday show on Sunday. That's how it works around here, brother. We just roll with the punches. And, of course, four-wheeling at the top. And that's as far as I can scroll. If I missed you, I apologize. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out. We love you. Who's the Slippy of the day? That would be Killa Sam. What's up, Killa Sam? Thanks for sliding in there right at the end. Thanks for hanging out tonight, guys, and kind of rolling with the punches with our late night schedule. But, this is how we roll. And with that said, let's get this Game of the Month underway. And let's start a little differently than we typically do. We're going to start with Meta Quest 2 this month. And a little bit of a slow month in general for VR, but especially for Quest 2. We had three notables that came out this month on Quest 2. First of all, we had Swordsman, which just launched a few days ago. Eric, really surprised at the reception for Swordsman. Not because I didn't already know that this is a great game, because it is a great game. But there are other games that are these kind of melee games on Quest already. There's already Blade and Sorcery. There's already Battle Talent. So when I see a game like Swordsman, as great as it is coming over, I didn't really expect too many people to really give it a shot. But I'm happy to say I was wrong about that. Lots of overwhelmingly positive reviews on the Quest store for Swordsman now. And I think it boils down to what the trailer says right there. Realistic sword fighting. Like this, in terms of enemy AI, I've never played a game that has this level of realism in the virtual opponents. Like they're really good with their footwork, their head movement, their positioning, all things that you would see in real life fencing. And I appreciate it, and I'm glad to see they're getting the recognition they deserve.
Yeah, they do deserve it. I mean, to me, those other games you mentioned are decent games, but Swordsman's on a different level. I mean, the AI is so much better in that game than any other game. You really feel like you have a challenge. You're not just going in there and blindly hacking and slashing. You have to have a plan of attack when you go in and battle these enemies, and the different fighting styles you have, the different swords you get with the different, whether you're going in as a samurai or going in as a pirate or a swashbuckler, or however you're going to go in with. And they added range attacks. This game is really, really good. It's a game that should have probably never went to the App Lab because it's been out. It's been out for a while. It's just not a lot of people knew about it because it was in App Lab. But it did go to App Lab, and they had a chance to work on it for 6 or 7 months now, and they've got it to a point where it's pretty much perfect, and it's probably one of the best games out there. And I think right now, from what their Discord said, I think they're one of the top 3 or 4 best-selling games right now, I think, on Quest. So people are buying it, people are hearing about it, so it's a good deal.
That's great. I look forward to what's kind of coming in the future from Sin Studio, because, without getting, talking too much inside baseball, there are plans not only for the studio, but for this franchise. And to see what they've done with Swordsman since launch, and to kind of know the direction that they're about to take it, I'm excited to see what's next. And I feel like with them coming out now on Quest officially, that this is kind of the final piece, the final chapter for this title. and now we're going to get to see what's next for them going forward. Ruuts, we often talk about depth in VR games, and while it's true that it doesn't have like a story campaign for you to play through or anything like that, when you talk about progression, this is an incredibly deep game with tons of different weapons and abilities to unlock. It's almost like a full-fledged RPG progression in this melee fighter.
Yeah, some of the best games don't have any story at all. So I would say progression in gameplay is more important than story. I don't want a shallow game with a story any more than I want a really good gameplay with a shallow story. I just say if there's no story at all and it's just a really good progression in gameplay, that's enough. I was just reading a lot of the reviews earlier today, and people are raving about this, and even the negatives aren't really negatives from what I can see. It's just people really love this, and it's got a lot more depth, way more than Blades and Sorcery. Even that's the game that was the darling of this type of genre, right, for a long time, and this one blows it out of the water. So
yeah, it's nice to see. This game's been a top seller on PlayStation for a long time, and it's good to see them being able to kind of carry that success with them into what is easily the most populated platform in VR, the Quest. So congratulations to Sin Studio, and well done on a successful launch.
And congratulations to anybody that grabs the key that Mickey Bear just dropped in. And he freaked me out there for a second, Mickey. He's like, this is not Swordsman. I thought, oh God, how did I get the wrong trailer? and then I read the rest of the sentence, and it was a different key that he's dropping in the key like Mickey does. So,
well, speaking of keys, thank you, Mickey, by the way, for being as generous as you always are. Thank you. You're awesome. But you heard me a moment ago talking about, Rogue TR giving me a key to virtual desktop that I turned out that even though I didn't think I needed it, I actually did. If you were thinking to yourself at that moment, damn it, I need virtual desktop as well. Well, today's your lucky day, friends, because he just gave me another key to give out. So the first person in the chat that types the words virtual desktop will get a key for virtual desktop on Meta Quest.
You know who else has VD?
Go.
Yeah, she does. Different kind of VD, though.
So as always, guys, it's the first person who pops up on my screen. So don't get too excited if you think you win until I say it.
Oh, there
Spry
it is.
Guy. Spry Guy is the winner. Congratulations. I was thinking about getting him a copy of Virtual Desktop for his birthday anyway, and now this just makes it easier.
Yeah, happy birthday, Spry. What are the odds that this happens on your birthday? Pretty good, actually.
Yeah. So congrats, Spry Guy. I will send you your key after the show, and if I forget, don't hesitate to tag me up and remind me, and we'll get your key right over to you. Shout out once again to Rogue TR for sharing these keys. Pretty awesome. T Peasy says VD is a must-have. You know who else says that VD is a must-have, Ruuts?
Yeah, she does.
Oh, no, that's not what she says. She said that you must have VD. Okay, that's what.
You must, or you must not care if she has VD. I don't know. One of those things are true.
Moving along, quietly, or at least it seemed quietly. We got the third installment this month of a well-celebrated franchise in VR, one of the most popular games in the history of our technology. I Expect You to Die 3, Cog in the Machine dropped this past month. And Eric, was it just me, or did nobody care?
Yeah, this was a weird one, man. It didn't seem like it launched with kind of a little bit of anonymity. Nobody everybody knew it was coming, I think, but I don't know. There just wasn't much talk about it, and it was kind of weird because it's pretty damn good. I don't know.
Yeah.
I talked about this on my show a few weeks ago. I call it the Riese effect with this game, because with me, the first game was fantastic because it was new and it was great, and nobody had ever played it before, and it was super impressive for the time. And then when 2 came out, Like I was excited to get into it, and then I get into it, I'm like, it's okay, it's good. You know, I got through it, and I'm like, it's gone. And then this one again, when I played it, I got back into it again, and I call it the Ritz effect because it feels like when you're eating nothing but saltines and just plain crackers for such a long time, and that's what we've been having a little bit this year, is especially with Quest games, is all like these kind of like not, you know, they're okay games, you know, kind of plain, and then you get something that's a little bit different. I like this one better than I like the second one, because I think it's just it feels like something different again. So I don't know. Without a lot of people talking about it, this one kind of pleasantly surprised me, and I'm back on board with the I Expect You to Die franchise. I thought it was really good.
I agree. Like I wasn't particularly looking forward to getting back into this. I feel like I've played this game twice already. I've played through it twice in part 1 and part 2, and I really wasn't too bothered to get in and check out 3. I did it. I picked it up and bought it just so that we could be prepared and say that we played it for this conversation. And Ruuts, I got back in there and remembered just why these games are so popular, because they're polished and they're just well done VR games. And I think there's something to be said for about this effect that Eric's talking about, because I feel like because this game doesn't really deviate too much from its formula. I mean, they have a set formula, they stick to it. I feel like it doesn't really generate hype in our space. People already know what this game is, but I think, you know, when it's been 6 months or a year since you played, you kind of forget why people liked it to begin with. And I don't know if that was the case for you, but when I got back in there and started playing this, I was like, oh yeah, these games are good.
I was impressed just by the score in the beginning and the production value, and it just seemed like a movie almost, right? Like it was just really good. And yeah, I agree. And there is some truth to that, because the game depth, the games in general on the Quest have been kind of whatever. And I think that plus the fact that this is actually a well-made game, it just pops even more. But yeah, I definitely think it's something that I had kind of written off, or not written off, but like we said a couple weeks ago, we know what to expect. It's I Expect You to Die. We're going to go and we're going to enjoy it. I just didn't think I'd enjoy it as much. So
It's weird, Eric, because when you talk about like this game visually, like you see screenshots of it and you're like, you know, it's pretty basic looking from the outside in. But once you get into the headset, even though like there aren't like any like super complex textures going on anywhere, just through lighting and 3D depth, it's very immersive. Like even though it looks like a cartoony game, you do have a real sense of presence in there. It's hard to explain to someone who hasn't experienced it.
Yeah, I mean, it looks really, really good. I mean, all these games look good. I mean, they've done a good job even since the beginning with the first one. I thought they've always done a good job, and you know, Shell knows how to make these games. I mean, they know how to make really good VR games. So you know, it's not surprising, but I think it looks great. I think it's the colors.
It looks cartoon. It looks cartoony and real at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's a style. It's absolutely a style. This isn't like, you know, dumbed down graphics. I think this is what they go for, and they pull it off really well. Like I think to me, I think the colors pop on the screen. Everything. The textures look great. I think it's a really good looking game. I'm okay that it's not, you know, that it has a cartoony feel to it. I think it's fine.
High quality VR game. Kind of sorry now that we didn't give it more attention when it actually launched this month. Glad that we came back to it for Game of the Month. And this is kind of the value in doing these episodes every month, is that it's a lot less likely that something like this is going to slip by us because we do these. So glad that I got back into it.
Why do you think it was, Wes? Like, I always try and think about these things, and like, I mean, it's just Shell, right? I mean, I thought they did a good amount of like PR and marketing leading up to the launch. I mean, they sent out a lot of PR boxes, cool PR boxes to some of the creators, and I think they did okay, but I mean, it just seemed like it didn't connect with a lot of people. And you think because of the time of year it was?
I think it's because they're not. They don't seem to be advancing the formula all that much. And like when you've got a revolutionary game like The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, for example, you can kind of get away with staying in that lane because there is so much depth and so much going on with that you don't really see in any other game. With I Expect You to Die, we're now on the third installment. This isn't even the sequel. This is the third one, and with the exception of a few gameplay mechanics that they've kind of sprinkled in here and there, this is just it's more like a DLC than a sequel, I feel like. And this has always been the case with this series. So I mean that.
Well, plus I was going to say we're not coming from the first one. The first one or the second one. Like you said, the first one was so good. It was new. It was innovative. The second one, people didn't know, as far as they knew, it could be completely different. Second one wasn't as well received. And so by the time this one's coming, everyone's just kind of like, you're thinking of the second one. You're not thinking of the first one. You're thinking of the second one. And the second one was okay. And so I'm not going to get super hyped for it. Although I would say this is better than the second one. And it's definitely worth playing for sure.
Yep. So yeah, I think it's that. I just think that I think that the VR audience are always so kind of forward thinking about what they have very firm ideas on what they feel like the next gen of VR should look like, and if a game doesn't live up to that, I mean, they're not being hype around something is kind of the best case scenario. Like, because as we've noticed a lot lately, if something doesn't quite live up to people's expectations, they can be pretty brutal about it. So I think with the way that our audience is and how forward thinking and how everyone kind of has their idea of what new games should look like, I think that cases like this where people just kind of stick to the recipe and don't deviate very much, it just doesn't generate a very much hype from people, and I kind of feel like that's what happened with this one.
Yeah.
But that really doesn't explain what happened with Glassbreakers. Glassbreakers Champions of Moss. This is a game that essentially got 2 weeks of a promotion and then a surprise drop right on the App Lab. Ruuts, I guess I'll start with you on this one. First of all, I mean, if you've ever played a game from PolyArc, I guess you won't be surprised when you get in here and realize just how polished this thing looks and sounds. I mean, it pretty much looks like a Moss game in terms of production value, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you loved Demio's moving of the board like Wes does, you're gonna love this because I thought of you, Wes, when I was moving it up and down and side to side and stuff. And I wish that's the only thing that I thought that I would change right off the bat was give me like a way to move to turn with my joysticks. I don't want to grab the table and turn it. But I did. I was really actually kind of surprised in the production value and how cool it was to watch my character run across and all three of them attacking and just the different ways you can move them around. I mean, this isn't my type of game to begin with, but I thought it was really cool and kind of innovative. So I think if somebody likes this type of game, I think they'd be very well received to try it, right? It's free. So
yeah, it is free, and that's kind of a big thing here. And I think it's kind of what they're banking on is that because it's free, they're hoping that enough people will play it to kind of slowly over time build up a user base. But I'm not so sure that's going to happen here, Eric, because this is a pretty complicated game. And when they said it was a MOBA, I had a completely different idea in my head of what this game was going to be. This is very different than what I was expecting.
Yeah, and that's I think one of the biggest problems they have with this game is I don't think they particularly did a good job of explaining to people what this game was going to be. So I think a lot of people, thank God it's free and people can try it, because if this was a paid game, I don't know if anybody would ever buy it, because
I don't.
They did a good job of basically conveying what this is.
I don't know if being free is going to be enough, though, man. I mean, there's a series of tutorials that you have to play through, even to get started in this. Like, you have to play like 7 or 8 tutorials to learn how to play the game, and it's a situation where most people are going to play through half the tutorials and put it down. And even if they do come back, like, they're going to already have forgotten what they learned the first time. You know what I mean? So I think they have a pretty big wall in front of them that they kind of have to kind of go back to the drawing board, I think, here a little bit, if they're going to save this game and really make it. Like, I know why they built it, but they built this game because they saw the success of Demio, and they said, I think we can kind of stay in that lane and just change it up a little bit, and we can be something that's just as successful or even more so. The bones for a great game are here, but I think that the learning curve is super high with this, and I think they're going to have to structure it a bit differently if they're going to coerce people into staying around long enough to learn how to play it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot here to unpack. I mean, to figure things out, and you're right. I don't know if this is not a jump in, jump out game. This is a game that you really have to work on. Like, Ruuts, this is your worst nightmare, bro. You don't want nothing to do with this.
That's what I was just telling Spry, because he said tutorials. Ruuts is out. I said I skipped most of the tutorials. I just wanted to check out and see exactly what the thing is. And somebody was saying in there that's a lot like Kill Sam. It's looks like League of Legends, and that's kind of what I thought. Is like, it looks like it's trying to be kind of like League of Legends, and League of Legends is really cool, but it's got so much, there's so much more to that with items and builds and things and the ways that every character's got different types of attacks, and I feel like this is somewhere in between. And so yeah, I definitely hope, like you said, Wes, that they figure a way to convey and let people maybe learn as they're playing, instead of trying to go through 7 different tutorials and forgetting stuff. I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that would be, because these type of games are really involved, and they're you know what I mean? There's just so much to it. So I don't know how you get around not doing a tutorial if you really are dead set on progressing through it. So
Yeah, I don't know either, but they need to try to give it some thought, maybe do some play testing and get some feedback from players here, because they do have potential here with this thing. It's a beautiful game. It sounds great. It looks great. As complex as the rule sets are, it's pretty easy to play in terms of I feel like you could play this game with hand tracking. Like, you don't need your controllers for this. It's pretty simplified what you're actually doing in terms of interfacing with the game. So I feel like there's potential here to kind of do what Demio's doing and put a mixed reality version of this game out with hand tracking. And if they can simplify the rule set enough to get people to engage with it, I think it has potential as a concept. I'm hoping that's why it's in App Lab. I'm hoping that this is kind of early access experimental phase for this game, and that they have plans to kind of refine it and make it better. Because you can tell they put a lot of work into this, and I would hate for it to just turn out to be a dud for them.
Yeah,
especially they didn't lead into the Moss part of it. Like, nobody knew, unless you're watching this trailer, a lot of people don't even know it has anything to do with Moss. And they didn't use that enough. I don't know. This seems like a super soft launch to me for Polyarc. It's they're going to go to App Lab, and they don't really care how well they do right now, because I just don't think they did a very good job. I mean, they do such a good job promoting and pushing Moss, and then with this game, they just kind of seem like they were whatever, we'll push it out there, and if people play it, they play it, and if they don't, we don't care.
Yeah, it could be
Feels like a pep.
Like you said, Wes, a soft launch. Then maybe they don't want too many eyes on it right now. I mean, they want eyes on it, but they don't want it to be a big deal until it's ready, right? So which
Yeah,
would
it feels
support.
like a pet project to me. It feels like this is somebody's idea, and they already had a lot of the assets and things that they needed, and they just kind of started on it, and then it turned into something that they thought they might could sell to people, and then they finished it out. So it's cool looking. It's extremely high quality for a free to play game. You won't find many free to play games that have this level of quality in terms of production on it. So if you're into like super tactical, uh, pretty much board games, I mean, for lack of a better term, this is pretty much a board game. You might give it a chance. You know, it's free, and they even shortened the title down. Roots, like it's on the App Lab, and you know, it used to be called Glassbreakers Champions of Moss, but you know, when you type Glassbreakers into App Lab, you wouldn't find it. So they just went ahead and changed the name to Glassbreakers so that people could find their game.
I found it easy. That's exactly how I found it in the Oculus or the Quest store. I typed in Glassbreakers. It popped up App Lab. I mean, it was actually a lot more seamless than it's ever been. So I think they made.
I tried to find it. I tried to find it before they changed the title, and I couldn't.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I think that was a
Yeah.
really good idea, and I hope it does succeed as well because you know there are no real MOBAs in VR, and this would be the first one. So
So that's it. That's what came out on Quest this month.
That's scary.
Put the
yeah,
Yeah, I know, right? Well, look, it's the calm before the storm. Quest 3 is about to drop, like imminently about to drop. Like within a month, we're going to have a new platform from Meta, and I expect the games to start rolling in pretty heavily after that. I
San
mean, you can even
Andreas?
go to the
Are we getting San Andreas?
maybe. You never know.
Yeah.
We are getting Assassin's Creed. I can tell you that for sure. Oh, yeah. Anyway, I put the poll out there. I asked chat what they thought the game of the month on Quest was, and 73% of the people polled say that it should be I Expect You to Die 3. And I have to say, gentlemen, I 100% concur with that. That was the best Quest game I played this month. Ruuts, what say you?
Yeah, I would have to agree. Definitely one that I had the most fun in for sure, and the most polished. So, although Swordsman was right there too. So.
I think Swordsman's getting a bad rap here. I think the problem with Swordsman is it because to me there's no way if this is the first time we've ever seen Swordsman, this beats I Expect You to Die about 100 different ways from Sunday. There's just no way. This Swordsman is a better game than I Expect You to Die. But the problem is Swordsman's already been released on PlayStation. It's actually already been on the Quest. So I think it's getting shortchanged here because it's kind of already been out. But to me, if we're calling this a new game that just dropped on the Quest, Swordsman should win hands down. It's a better game.
I mean, it's a difficult thing to say that it's a better game. But my whole problem with Swordsman, and it is a very good game, is the type of game that it is. It's a stand and fight melee game, like I mean, there's 4 environments in the game. You pretty much stand in one spot and fight dudes over and over and over again. They spawn right in front of you. You know what I mean? And it's kind of difficult to say that Swordsman gets shortchanged here because we've seen Swordsman before, but we haven't seen I Expect You to Die before. We just talked for 10 minutes about how that game got shortchanged because everybody's seen it before. I think I Expect You to Die
it's a new iteration though, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. It's their new levels. Everything's new about it. Even though it's a franchise that's been there, but it's a brand new part of that franchise. So I don't know. To me, I feel think Swordsman. I mean, Swordsman is it's a more polished game. To me, it looks better. I mean, the fighting is great. It's not just melee anymore. It's got range combat in it now. The AI is so good now. The fighting system is great.
The AI is very good. I'll give you that. The AI is very good.
It's got like a zombie mode in it now, which is good. I mean, and it looks great on the Quest too. I mean, they did a really good job with this port onto the Quest too. So, I don't know. I think people need to like go check out Swordsman a little bit more.
I agree with all of that. Yeah.
I mean, look at the sales for it right now. It is like I think top 4 right now behind like Beat Saber. I mean, what's the top? I think the top 4 games are always the same, like Beat Saber, Blade and Sorcery, and I think Swordsman's right there right now. It was one of the top selling games. So, I think it is definitely getting some love.
So, do you think we should give it runner up then? Like, I disagree. I think I Expect You to Die is, I think more that you're more likely, like if you were to just pick 100 random people and give them both games, I think that it's going to go pretty much the way it went in our chat. I think about, it'd be about 3-1 people would be choosing I Expect You to Die over Swordsman. Swordsman is good. It's a bit more complex. I think it takes more of a hardcore gamer and someone who likes melee combat to kind of get into it. I think I Expect You to Die is a bit more palatable to casual players and like normal VR players. So I don't know. Do we give it a runner up, Ruuts, or do we?
Well, we can.
Just kind of.
I mean, it can't hurt to give it a runner up. My thing is there's 612 reviews on the. I mean, it is just came out and it's got a shitload of reviews. Very popular game.
Well, with that said, though, a lot of those reviews have probably carried over from
the App
Lab. Those are not all new reviews. Some of them are, but not all of them. But it's very good. I'll give you that. It's very good. But I disagree. If we're going to call it better than I expected, I don't think so. But that's just me. Sure. I mean, we'll give it a runner up here. I mean, like you said, it doesn't hurt to give it a runner up. We can revisit the conversation at the end of the year. For what it's worth, I don't think either of them are going to be in the game of the year discussion at the end of the year. But who knows? Quest is having kind of a quiet year anyway. So
nobody voted for Glassbreakers. What are you guys doing? Come on, man.
Come on, man.
How dare you?
How dare you?
They should just pull that game right now.
It's just very niche, and it's just a lot, and I think they need to figure a way to bring it all in a little easier. But I think you probably nailed it, Wes. I think it's just kind of thrown out there, kind of as they're working on it, right? So hopefully,
yeah, they need to figure something out, and it's not an easy fix. The game that they've built is a complex game. You kind of need those tutorials, but they need to get you in the game and teach you that stuff as you play instead of just kind of coming at it the way that they did. It's a lot of information to come at a new player with.
Yeah, for
right
sure.
Off the top. Right, we move along to PCVR, and I do have a bit of a disclaimer here. I didn't get to play as much PCVR as I wanted to play. We've got 3 titles, like we did for Quest, and I meant to get in and kind of play them this weekend. And 2 of these titles are from small indie teams, and as is often the case with small indie games, the HP Reverb G2 support was not the best. So today I decided to try these games out with my Meta headsets. So I went right off the top. My first move was, you know what? It's been a while since I tried out playing PC VR on my Quest 2. Let's try that. So I went to my link cable first. And I plugged the thing into my computer. I got the little notification, "Hey, you're plugged in. Do you want to enable Quest Link?" I click yes. It starts to load for about a second and a half, and then it just drops. Bing, right back into the Quest menu. Does not connect. So after doing that about 5 or 10 times, I decided just for shits and giggles to try AirLink, which, as usual, didn't find my computer. So I went for my last resort, virtual desktop, which typically works for me, or it did back when I used it a lot. And virtual desktop didn't even find my computer this time. Like, I just couldn't connect my Quest to my PC at all. So I went to my Rift S, which did connect to my PC. I boot the game up, and it crashed. Started crashing again. So I basically, long story short, is I burnt over 2 hours up today trying to connect my Oculus headsets to my computer, and had no success. Was not able to do that, which means that 2 out of the 3 of these titles I really haven't played. The good news is I don't think it would have mattered. I was just doing my due diligence, because, Eric, I'm pretty sure that it doesn't really matter that Crossfire Sierra Squad was probably the best game that came out on PCVR this month, right?
I agree, and I didn't get a chance to check out the others either. I wish I did, but just with moving and everything, I just didn't have a chance to do it. But this game is so freaking good. I don't see any of these 2 games coming up and beating this game. And I know there are going to be some people that don't like this game because it's a arcadey shooter, but I mean, to me, you can't kill a game because it's in a certain genre. So to me, if it's a great arcade shooter that's done super, super well, and I don't think, the other 2 games might be great. I just don't think they're going to be on this level. But again, it's tough for me because I didn't get a chance to play either. West wasn't just you, it was me too. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll talk about those other 2 games in a minute, because I do think that they looked really cool and they had potential to be really good over time. But right now we're talking about Crossfire Sierra Squad. Ruuts, did you have a chance to check it out on PC?
I did, and my only problem with Crossfire Sierra Squad PC is it's not the PlayStation VR 2 version. Not that it's not a really good version. I did enjoy it.
Okay, hold on. I don't know if it was the same for everyone, but your audio cut out for me. Yeah, I couldn't hear anything.
Okay, how about now?
Then. Okay. Yeah, you're good now.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that my only problem with Crossfire Sierra Squad on PC is it's not the PlayStation VR 2 version. It's a really good version. I enjoyed it, but my problem is I played the better version first for a while, and then I went to the PC version, and I can't tell you how the difference in the way the controllers and the haptics make the difference in this game. And let me be straight on this. I'm not saying the game on PC isn't fun and it's not worth playing. I'm just saying that I felt the difference so much because I've played so much on the PlayStation already that I just was like, dude, I felt like it was missing something. And it just shows how amazing the haptics are in the PlayStation VR 2. So.
I'll agree with that. This game is very, very good on PC as well as PlayStation, but that was the biggest difference. Eric and I went in and did some co-op earlier, and not only like the haptics, but like even the grenade throwing for whatever reason was better on PlayStation than it was on PC. The haptics were a huge difference. But with that being said, I got to be honest, Eric, I was expecting that. I was expecting that, the haptics were going to be something that I sorely missed. I was not expecting for the PC version of this game to be as good as it was, actually. I thought that there would be an even bigger difference than there is. But to my surprise, like, not only was the game like sharper in my G2, which, I mean, that's not shocking. My G2 has, super sharp screen in it. But when I got in there and realized that the sniping mechanic is exactly the same on PC as it is in PlayStation, I was shocked. I didn't think that PC VR headsets had that capability to do half of a trigger pull, but it absolutely does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I literally because they bring you to the range, right, and then they kind of like make you go into a mission, and then they bring you back out of that mission, and they make you go and do the tutorial part where you have to shoot again. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do this tutorial real quick because I have to figure out how to do the mechanic where you slow your heart rate down so you can steady your aim. And in the PlayStation VR 2 version, it's that adaptive trigger, half trigger pull, and it's perfect. And I'm like, I got to figure out how to do it here. I was trying, like, I didn't really even look quick enough, Wes. I thought it might have been a thumbstick press or something, and then I actually had to look back, and it did show that it was a trigger pull. And I'm like, really? And I had to like play with it a few times, and then you do that half trigger pull, and I was playing it on my Quest Pro, and it's the same. I mean, you get that half trigger pull, and you hear the heartbeat in your ears. Things slow down a little bit. You steady your aim, and then you pull it all the way, and you shoot the gun, and it's freaking amazing. And they did a really, really good job doing that. I'm the same as you. I had no idea that they could do half trigger pulls on touch controllers or on Windows mixed reality. It must be a sensitive thing. I had no idea because nobody ever uses it. Like, this is the first time ever, and how many years now that I've seen them use a half trigger pull on anything. So no other game has done it. So I think it was really well done, and I'm glad that I went into this PC version tonight. I wasn't planning on it because I've been having so much fun in the PlayStation VR 2 version. But I'm glad that we went in because I was super impressed with it. I think it looks really, really good. I think Ruuts has really valid points as to why the PlayStation VR 2 version is still better, because the guns just don't feel the same. That's the only downgrade I have for this is the guns don't feel the same. There's something in those haptics of the PlayStation VR 2 controllers, and it's slight, but even in the headset rumble, when you pull that gun up to aim by your face, when you aim down sight in the PlayStation VR 2 and you pull the trigger and you feel the rumble because the gun's right by your head, and then even when you're shooting from the hip, the guns just feel better. And this game is all about the guns. But it looks beautiful, Wes. You're right. It's probably one of the best looking games on PC that you'll find.
Yeah, I was quite happy with it. It's a trade-off. Obviously, the OLED panels on the PSVR 2 allow for better color depth, and you notice that pretty quickly. But in terms of sharpness, like my G2 took it, even at like 60 and 70% resolution, it was still sharper than the PSVR image was, which was pretty cool, especially in levels where the enemy's kind of far away, and you're trying to aim down sights and catch these guys from hundreds of yards. So it's a very serviceable port. If you have access to both, I would recommend that you get it on PSVR 2. But if you don't have a PSVR 2, I have no problem with recommending this game on Steam as it is today. Now, obviously, there was apparently some jank on launch, some day one jank, but they patched it out immediately. And what's left is a very solid game on Steam right now.
I think most of the complaints were specific headsets as well, like Index. It wasn't optimized. Like you said, that's fixed. So
we did run into a bug though on the way out, so it's still not 100% perfect, but I think it's definitely it's not something it's not game breaking. I don't think. I mean, kind of game breaking, but not really. And we only came up with it I think a couple of times.
Yeah, we had cleared a level, and instead of going through the little spiel that it goes through to tally up your points and stuff, it just never ended. It was we were just basically sitting there, which is the same thing happened to us on PlayStation once in Horde mode as well. So I don't think it's something specific to PC. I think it just gets hung up every now and then for whatever reason and doesn't move on. Anyway, it was a lot of fun, and something I could see myself going back to no matter what platform that people are playing in. I'm glad that I have it on both, and wherever people are playing, I'm able to kind of meet them now. And eventually the crossplay is going to open up, and it won't matter. I'll probably play on my PlayStation almost exclusively then, But I'm glad I don't have to kind of wait on that. I have the option to go either way right now. So let's talk about a little bit about these other games. Even though Eric and I didn't get to play War of Being, I think you did, didn't you, Ruuts?
Yeah, yeah. I actually played through I think all but one of the band members. What's kind of cool about this game is it's unique. It's like it, obviously like you said, it's created by a band of all things, but it's a way to showcase their album and kind of give you like a little bit of detail on backgrounds of the band members in a way that is very unique, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Sci-fi puzzle game. That's what they describe it as. Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, it's got a couple of puzzles. I mean, this is more. It's kind of, to me, I would describe it more of an experience than a game in a sense. I mean, you're going through these environments and you got these puzzles, but I mean, you're really just trying to get to the point where you discover the each band member and then moving on. But it's definitely cool, and I was digging the music, and yeah, I mean, just the fact that it's something that in a day where we don't even have music videos anymore, really, right? Artists don't
Right.
they don't really have a way to express themselves too much, and this is a completely new genre, and I hopefully we have more bands doing this. I mean, obviously, I would suggest maybe having you know, a company that does VR. Like if you're gonna make a full-fledged game, then have them and flesh it out. But for what they did, for this is really good for $6, especially.
Yeah, they say they're going to fill it out too. That they're going to continue to add on to it and make it into a full like campaign. So only time will tell what this game turns out to be. But I think it's pretty impressive. Like it looks good graphically. It did not run well on my G2. It did boot. Like I was able to get into it, but I had a couple of problems right off the top. First of all, um, when I would turn, like use artificial turning in the game, the textures would pop out. And I mean like completely pop out. It wasn't like a normal pop in where you get close to something and all of a sudden the textures pop in. When I would turn, there would be holes in the graphics of like nothing, black nothingness while I was turning. And then I'd stop turning and then all the textures would come back in. And it was every time that I turned, it did this.
Wow.
Another problem that I had on my G2 in this game is stick drift. And while some people are, I'm sure, are saying, well, wait a minute, that's not a problem with the game. That's a problem with your controller. No, that's a problem with the game. And this is a problem that I'm actually starting to see from certain small indie teams that put in this cursory G2 support without testing it, is that you'll get this stick drift where you're constantly moving to the left or right in the game. And I know it's the game because I go into other games and I don't have it. Right? So that has to be the game. What it is and again, this is coming from a layman. I'm not a game dev. I would imagine that somewhere in the game's controller support files, there is a setting for dead zone. And by setting the dead zone up on your controllers, you eliminate stick drift, because if all these thumbsticks have like a range of what's calibrated to be center, and what's anything that deviates from that is considered movement. So if you do, and to get around half of the controllers out there having drift on it, what they do is they make that dead zone a little bit bigger so that it covers that kind of range of variation that you get from controller to stick to stick to stick. I had this in both games, this and the Riese project, where if I play on my G2, I walk slowly to the right, just ever so slightly to the right. But if I go into like a game from a larger developer, a more established studio, that does not happen. So I don't know.
It could just be starting, Wes, because I remember when I had one of my controllers stick drift, it was what was that one game with the 3-player co-op that you can play by yourself that's kind of difficult. It's like robots. I'm trying to think, it's way back in the day, but anyway, and you got the healing person, the shield, and anyway, so my controller would only do it in that game at first, and then like months down the road, it started doing it in every game. It was like it was just like, for whatever reason, that game was just ultra sensitive and it was picking it up, but so it's very possible that might just be the start of a drift issue getting ready to rear its head.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. It could be. But like I said, I think, and you can do this even on your Quest 2. The difference between the Quest 2 and some of the other platforms is you can go into your controller settings on your Quest 2 and it lets you set your dead zone. So if you just have like the slightest little drift in your Quest, you can actually fix it by widening your dead zone. That's why I think that some of these smaller studios probably just aren't setting that setting at where most of the bigger studios, the more experienced studios, have it.
Because it's just though that 2 games that we're covering out of 3 have a drift on yours, and it's not the headset, not the controller.
But here's the thing, though. Over the last month, I've probably played 10 games, and it's only on these 2 subsequently from teams that are like have 5 people on them and have all other sorts of jank on top of that. You know what I mean?
If they don't even have the headsets, Wes. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these smaller teams.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
So it's like they can't even test it, right? Like they're probably putting these inputs in without even having a headset in their office. Like most of them don't. Like I remember when Ghost of Tabor shipped, they were having all kinds of problem with the HP Reverb G2 controls, and they're like, we just don't have one. We had to order one, and it's not here yet, so we can't even test it. So it's like they have a schematic that they put in to try and make try and put the controls in. But unless they really have it, how are they going to get it 100%? How do you dial in like the specifics to get it 100% right if you don't have it? Right. I guarantee some of these smaller studios just don't have the headsets.
Yeah, that's what I think's going on here, and I'm not faulting them with it specifically. It's just something that I've begun to notice lately in these 2 games specifically. But I can tell you that I use my G2 all the time, and it's my daily driver in terms of PCVR, and I don't have even in the WMR menu space, it's solid there. You know what I mean? It's solid everywhere except for these 2 very small games from very small teams. So that's why I think it could be, the very beginning of a problem that gets grows later. But again, I'm going to err on the idea that it's probably
there's nothing you could do about it anyway. Of course, you're going to err on that because you're pretty much it's out of your hands at this point, right? My thing is, it's just these are the most 2 recent games, and that if you'd said I've played 10 games today, and out of those are the only 2 versus 10.
I played specifically today. I played 3, and 1 had 0 trouble, and those 2 did. And over the course of the last month, I've probably played 10.
Well, of course,
15
over the
games.
last month, yeah, of course,
yeah. This is well. Let me tell you. I guess I should put the caveat in there that this problem I noticed in the Riese project 3 weeks ago. Like it isn't just like today that it popped up. Like I had this problem in that game weeks ago when we first got that key. And remember, we were going to cover it on the show, but there was like so much jank, we just didn't want to have a negative segment on it, so we just dropped it. I've played a bunch of games since then, and I hadn't had it in any other game until today when I got in this War of Being and had it in there as well. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll tell over time. These are new controllers, by the way. I just got these, over the summertime. They're brand new controllers. I would be shocked if this were a problem with the controller and not the game, but maybe it is. We'll see. I I guess I could test it. I could get the other. I've got another set of controllers. I could get out and pair them up and see if that makes any difference
Yeah,
with it.
that'd be a good way to at least troubleshoot it, right?
Yep. Yeah, you're right. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the Riese project. I saw them on social media recently kind of put forth the question. They're pointing out this game and that game that's getting good sales and good reviews, and they say, why not us? Why is our game not selling? Why are we not making a mark in the VR gaming industry? Because our game has great graphics, it has great sound, it's got a good story, it's got like Indiana Jones meets this franchise or that, and everything they said about their game is true. But Ruuts, I think what they're kind of missing here is a couple of things. First of all, they didn't market their game. They didn't get a PR firm to get out there and kind of, push their game to the top of the heap, let people know about it. Second of all, there's a lot of jank in their game. Ruuts, did you notice what I noticed, which is it doesn't matter what headset you play this game on. There's a different set of jank for every headset you plug into it.
Yeah, there's definitely a different types of jank for every headset. The fact that they didn't market it, I mean, the game looks like it could get good. At least for me, in the beginning, was a little slow, and I think that's part of.
I think it has the potential. I think it has the potential to be a very good game. A very good game. I mean, in terms of like the quality of the graphics in it, it's a very good looking game. It's a great concept for a game. There's a lot that's going for it here, but it's not finished out yet. Like it seems like a beta test is what it seems like to me.
Yeah, I just think people are over jank in general. And so like even if you have a decent game or a really good game and there's enough people saying that there's jank to it, it's definitely going to affect your sales. I at least for me anyway, I'm over day one jank. I know it exists, and kudos to the developers that can fix it when it's just, I just feel as a consumer, personally, I feel like I'm getting fucked everywhere I turn. Every company, you know what I mean? It just feels like the standards for a lot of things have just gone downhill, and not just gaming in general. It's just, so I think there's frustration in so many ways, and then on top of it, you have some jank in a lot of games, and it just gets too much. So
it's amazing. I played this game. Like it's not getting any better. Like I mean, flat games are just as bad. Like it seems like almost every flat game launches with some issues now. And VR games. I mean, Quest games, PC games, PlayStation VR 2 games, which we thought were pretty impervious to launching with jank, are launching with jank now. So it seems like it's getting worse. It's not getting better.
It just seems like a greed thing, personally.
I kind of treat it differently based on the studio. Like if a AAA $70 game comes out and it's fucking not playable, there's no excuse for that. A game like the Riese project, when it comes out and it's a indie VR game from a small studio with limited means, I'm a bit more forgiving of a game like this having jank, and that's kind of the reason why we decided at the beginning of the month not to talk about it instead of doing a big negative thing on it, is because I know it's a work in progress. I know they're a small team. I'm hoping that it's going to get better over time, and then we were just going to cover it whenever the game gets good, because I think it could get really good. But I played this game 3 weeks ago. Like I said, the stick drifts constantly to the right on my G2. The movement was slow at that time. Like the movement was like excruciatingly slow. I had problems setting a comfortable height in the game. I was either too tall or I was too short. And the reprojection was just unbearable at that time. Like it was double vision every time I would move anywhere. So we put it down. I come back to it today. And I go into it with my Rift S today. And I go to load my game. as soon as I load into the game, I fall right through the map and just fall through infinite space. It doesn't like eventually kill you. You can't bring up the menu and restart the game. I just had to go and basically kill the game from the task manager. And I went back in with my Rift S. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say you had to been wondering why the sales aren't there. You know,
Yeah,
like
right.
it's just crazy. That's why. You know, like yeah. Anyway.
And the landscape of today, you can't do these things. Like you could do it 5 years ago because guess what? The games weren't there. Like there wasn't 5 other games to take your attention or take your money. But to the point now is, can you, like, I question whether you can even launch into early access and be successful anymore. Just because there's so many other games out there that are vying for people's dollar that if you don't come out and be good right away, nobody's going to buy your game. Like, you have to be really good, or otherwise I'll go to the next game that will hold my attention, that I'll give my dollar to. There's just too many games vying for that money now.
Yep.
And it looks different. Like this game looks different on Rift versus G2. And I don't just mean in terms of detail and sharpness. I mean, for whatever reason, when you play this game on Rift S, the contrast is turned down like immensely. It's a very dull looking game. It looks like the brightness is set to like 50%. Like it's dark. It's unnaturally dark. It looks okay, but if you put on the G2, it's like bright and colorful and vivid. I don't know why. You remember how the CV1 looked and how it just kind of had this dullness to it, and then when you went to Rift S, that all went away. It's back for this game for whatever reason. This game made it look dull, and I was going to just kind of push through it because I do think there's potential for this story-driven, historically set game that uses photogrammetry. It has a lot going for it. But 5 minutes in, my Rift S crashed, and that was at the end of, hours of trying to play these games. And I just said, fuck it. I'm not going to sit here and do this anymore. I could have put 2 more hours in the Crossfire Sierra squad or played anything on PlayStation and just booted it right up without having to deal with all this shit. It was more trouble to try to play these indie Steam games on an Oculus headset than it typically is to play a Luke Ross mod on my G2. You know what I mean? So I eventually just gave up. I do think the Riese project and War of Being both have a lot of potential as games, but unfortunately they're not there yet. And I got my fingers crossed that these studios get it together and put something out there that meet the potential of the concepts that they've got here. But in my experience, they're not at that point right now.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying, Mash, that he got a small window. This is what I said, I think it was a year ago, that we were entering a sink or swim scenario for a lot of these developers that were in almost already over their head to begin with, and not knocking their ability, because I can't make shit, dude. I don't know what it takes to make these games. It just means that there's other developers out there like Zach Brown that are fucking breathing down your neck, putting out a AAA level game by themselves. So like it is what it is. And I just think that there's just some studios out there that just aren't going to be here in a year or two. And it's business. It is what it is. Like it's a business that a lot of people have, like you said, they have this project in the corner of a bar that they're really proud of, and then you play it and it's okay. It's just not, because everybody's baby is the best thing out ever. And I hate to break it to people, that's not the case. It's like maybe 3% is going to make it, right? So I don't know. That's probably not 3%, but that's definitely not 95%. So.
Anyways, I think it's obvious that that Crossfire is the PCVR game of the month this month. I don't think either of you have any kind of argument against that. Am I right?
No, that's definitely for sure. And it's a really good game. I mean, it's definitely worth picking up. You know.
Definitely.
So here,
I'm glad we went in tonight and looked at it though. At least I'm glad we did that because I was a little bit worried because I know it. There was some issues with jank early on with it, but they patched it like you said already. So it's really good now. So I would say if you don't have a PlayStation VR 2, you should definitely go get it on PC.
so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do what we typically do for early access games. And if War of Being or the Riese project someday ends up meeting the standard of quality and fulfilling the potential of the concepts that they've started working on, we'll revisit those games at that time. We'll just call them early access for now. And if they get good, we'll talk about them then. And I do want to thank the developer, especially of the Riese project, for being super cool and providing us with review access. But your game needs work. Your game needs work. You need to play test. You need to buy all the headsets. First of all of the major Steam VR headsets. You need to have one of each of them in your studio, and you need playtesters. And if you need playtesters, hit us up. We know. I know a dude. I know a dude that will be glad to put you in touch with people that you need to be in touch with.
I think that's the biggest disconnect for a lot of studios is they don't play test enough and they put their product out. It's like a chef that's never tasted what he's cooking. You know what I mean? And they just throw it out there and they're hoping it tastes good. And maybe there's just a little bit of off balance product, taste in there.
They put too much ginger in it. Ruuts.
That's right.
And if you can taste the ginger, then it has too much ginger in it.
Absolutely. Oh, Eric, they said there's no sound from you.
Oh, was I not on?
I guess
I can hear you.
You are
Yeah,
now.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. What I was saying was there's a difference of playtesting, having professional or not professional, but smart playtesters. Like playtesters are super important. There's a lot of yes people out there that developers put into their game, and they're like, yeah, the game's great. There's no issues. Everything played good. Maybe I had a hiccup here, a hiccup there. When you get a smart playtester in a game who's unbiased, they will go in. They'll tell you, there was a problem here. There's a replayability problem here. There was a UI problem here. With the user interface. I mean, so there's a difference, and not enough developers put enough weight into really good playtesters. People that play virtual reality games all the time, that have played 50, 60 virtual reality games, that know what they're looking for. Those are the ones that they need to go looking for, not the yes people that they stick their best friend into the game and they say, oh yeah, it's the best game ever, and they're like, okay, we play tested our game where everything's good, because they do this all the time instead of getting smart people in a VR community who know what they're looking for.
Yeah, and it's like everything you said is true on every platform, flat or VR. But it's especially true when you're talking about PC gaming, because you have that added dimension of all these different headsets and all these different hardware configurations in everyone's PC, and it's almost impossible to test every configuration out. So you really have to cast a wide net in terms of playtesting just to give yourself a chance that you're going to catch most of your problems, right? So you're right. It's very important regardless, but especially if you're releasing an indie game on Steam, there's just so much potential for things to go wrong in all these different configurations. You really owe it to yourself and to people who are buying your game to do your due diligence and test as much as you can.
Right, because you have one shot for that release, and you want it to come out as smooth as possible, right? So
you only got one chance. This is your chance to blow. Opportunity comes once in a lifetime.
As I said, I was hearing that song in my head too. Eminem.
All right, let's move along to PlayStation VR. In what was a relatively quiet month for VR, I think hands down PSVR kind of won the month this month, and that's why we're coming up to it last, where Quest 2 and PCVR each had 3 notable titles. PSVR 2 had 5 this month, and I think they're all pretty solid, starting with one that just came out the last day of the month. I almost didn't put it down on here, but I mean, it's a solid game, and it did come out last month. The Fisherman's Tale has come to PSVR 2 Ruuts, and on the heels of its successor, actually. And they've got all kinds of weird cross-buy promotions going on. Like if you own 2, you can get 1 for X price. If you own 1, you can get 2 for X price. If you don't own either one of them, you can get the bundle. But this is, by all accounts, a pretty solid game, albeit short, right?
Yeah, definitely short. But I kind of like the first one a little bit better. Just with everything they did with the scale and the mind fuck of looking down in the house and seeing yourself doing the same thing you're doing and looking up and seeing the same thing and the puzzles and like I think this is a very solid game, and if you haven't played through it, you should definitely pick it up because it's definitely worth playing through for sure.
I still haven't played it.
I know that's what I was wondering. I thought
I've got the key.
I was thinking
the first one?
I was
Yeah, I still
thinking
haven't played
this has
the first
got to
one,
get
yeah.
Wes in there because this is
I
like
would have.
being a puzzle person. I know that Wes is going to appreciate the way these puzzles are because they're really cool.
I would have. I honestly thought that this was going to be on next month's Game of the Month because I do have a key for it. It's in my library now, in the PlayStation library. I thought that this was a next month title, and then when I was putting this list together on Friday, I realized that this actually came out on the 31st of August, and we had to do it this month. So, yeah, I would have played it had I known that if I had known last week that I was going to be talking about it this week, I would have done it, but it just didn't work out. But Eric,
I think it'd be a good streaming game, Wes, to stream for the patrons or anybody really. I think they would love it to watch you play through it.
speaking of which, shout out to the patrons. I shortchanged them last week on their show notes. I never did go back and build out the cutting room floor like I said I was going to. So today, what I did instead of that was I gave them an exclusive 2-hour gameplay of I Expect You to Die 3. So I hope they accept my apology and my token of gratitude for their ongoing support. I don't know about you, Eric, but I'd rather have an exclusive gameplay.
I would too. I think it was a great thing. I mean, your show notes are amazing though too. I mean, I don't know. I want both. Give me both.
Come on, bro. Come on. I guess you are a patron.
Come on,
so
man.
Come on. You have the right.
Mickey
right
Bear
to
doing what
ask
Mickey Bear does, dropping a Fisherman's Tale on Steam in the chat.
Yeah.
I like Steam Tales. They were good, especially lobster, Maine
Yes.
lobster.
I like DuckTales. Ooh. I like
Eric-
this game. I like this game a lot. I thought this game was really good. I mean, I hear what Ruuts is saying because the first one was really good. The way the perspective was of you looking down into the puzzles of like that Inception feeling. But you know what I liked about this one? This one was not anywhere near like that one. Like they could have probably just done like an I Expect You to Die, right? Puke out the same exact mechanic, just change the story. and it could have been the same puzzle, you know, just in a different way or a different environment or different you know, locations. And they didn't. They changed everything up. You play this completely different than you play the first one.
True.
And the story is cool. It's fun. You know, maybe it's not as good as the first one because the mechanic is super cool in the first one, but I thought this one was amazing. I had a blast in this one, and I almost finished it. I think I'm only like one level off, but I think it's really, really good.
Yeah, I need to get in there and do it, man. I have never heard someone well, I take that back. Brian Paul's not the biggest fan of this game, but he's
Really?
the only person that I've ever heard say that it's not great.
Does he like the first one, or does he just not like the second one?
Oh, he liked the second one. He didn't like the first one all that much. He thought it was fine. Like, he didn't think it was bad. He just didn't think it was as good as like most everyone else does. But
Interesting.
everyone has their own taste.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own taste. So we don't always agree on stuff. I think the 99 other people that told me it's great is probably great. Hold on just a second here. I'm interacting with the chat a little bit. We have Rex Explorer joining us, asking questions. All right. So moving on from Fisherman's Tale, I guess we'll go ahead and mention that Crossfire Sierra Squad also landed on PSVR 2 this past month. We've already talked at length about how good this game is. And Ruuts, I think we were pretty clear about it a moment ago, that if you have your choice, PSVR 2 is definitely the way to play this game.
Yeah, this is a hands down no-brainer. And I even feel like, I felt like that it almost looked, I don't want to look, I guess, better, but I feel like the anti-aliasing might have been better in this one but I didn't play it on the G2. I played it on my Pro, so on the PC version, so I don't know.
So was it shimmery on PC for you, or
and I tried to change all the settings. It only let me go to high, and I could have sworn PlayStation had Ultra, but maybe not. But
it's funny that you say that, because Eric had the same. Yeah.
I thought it was my laptop because Wes didn't seem to have it, but he was in his G2. I was in my Quest Pro, but I'm on my laptop. My laptop's, you know, it's got a 3080 in it, but it's not a 3080 PC. You know, it's a 3080 laptop, you know, card. So I thought maybe it was just my laptop. So I'm interested to hear that you had the same thing. It was fairly bad for me. I mean, not terrible, but I mean, it was. That must have been. We'll put it that way. It was noticeable.
It would have had to have been compression artifacts, because the only difference, I mean, if you and Ruuts are having the same thing and I'm not, the big difference between what you guys did and what I did is my headset went through a display port.
It's true.
And your guys was compressed. It was streaming. So, yep. I mean, that has to be the difference, right?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were both on link cable too. You said, right, Ruuts? You played by link cable?
No, actually, I did AirLink because my link cable was giving me an issue.
Right.
So
even though that's the case, it's just a different method of transmission of the data, but it's still streaming, whether you're streaming over cable or streaming over air.
Yep.
It's still the same technology, the same thing that's going on.
I still want a display port. What are the chances we get like a surprise Quest 3 display port?
I'm not sure that the Valve headset's even going to have a hard cable on it anymore.
Quest 3.
I think with the and that might not be a bad thing. Like with today's current technology, it's a bad thing because the bandwidth through the wireless and the capacity for decoding with the mobile chipset isn't quite where it needs to be. But the next gen headsets are going to have stronger chips in them. They're going to have 6E Wi-Fi to pass this stuff over. So it could very well be the case that the next generation of this technology is so much better that there isn't much of a difference. So I'm not going to condemn it without trying it, but I agree. I'd rather just have a damn DisplayPort cable and be done with it, right?
Yeah, it's just so much better. At least, I guess, without new technology. So, and I think the same thing with the controllers. You know, you're getting rid of the ring, and you're getting rid of cameras, and you don't have the pro cameras in the controller. I don't know how those things are going to track very well, but I'm assuming that Meta's not taking steps backwards in their tracking.
Let's
so
hope not.
It's
I
interesting.
might have to buy some of those expensive ass controllers by Christmas time.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Hopefully they're fine, but we'll see. I think I think if they had their druthers, they would just drop the controllers altogether. I think that's what they want. They just want to let people game with their hands.
I think that's what they're going to do for this Quest 3 Lite, and I think they're going to dump the controllers. You see the reports that thing is supposed to be like $199, Quest 3 Lite coming out next year?
I didn't really read into that story too much. I saw headlines from it, but I didn't read what the details were.
That's great.
I mean, if it's true, $199, I think they got to dump the controllers. That's the only way they could do it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure it'll just be.
Well, and they've also set themselves up with a superior controller that you can add on for $300, right? So
Right.
People aren't going to go in and get this amazing headset and then think I don't need controllers. I almost guarantee people are going to get it and they're going to say, this is cool. I want to get controllers now. And then they're going to go get these really expensive ones and they actually make more money. So
Yeah, I still need my
A lot of
controllers.
people have Quest 2, right? And you can pair if people are upgrading from, how many Quest 2s are out there? 15 million, 20 million Quest 2s? Just go grab, if you have them, go grab your Quest 2 controllers, pair them with this new headset for a cheap price. Or go
true.
sell a pair of cheap controllers for it for, $50. What if they sold,
I wonder.
Quest 2 controllers for $50?
Do you think Oculus Touch 2 will be forward compatible with Quest 3? Do you think you'll be able to use Quest 2 controllers on Quest 3?
I do, because it's still going to be camera tracked, and basically they're the same. The controllers for the Quest 3 and the controllers for the Quest 2 are the exact same things. The only difference is the ring, right? So the ring is not there on the Quest 3, but the lights are still there. The lights are built into the actual controller body, not into the ring. That's the only reason they're getting rid of the ring. They just don't need it anymore. They can actually place the lights in the actual base of the controller, so they look like Quest Pro controllers.
I don't think that the Quest 1 controllers worked on Quest 2, and they were very similar.
I think I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about the Quest 1. I don't think the Quest 1 controllers will work, but I think there's a good chance the Quest 2 will.
I hope so.
For sure.
I hope so, especially if they're going to do this $199 light headset. Like, it would be nice if people could just use the controllers they already have. Because when I think about, for example, when I think about a game like Demeo, which just announced they're doing a mixed reality version that has co-location, so like people can stand in the same room, the same physical room around a virtual table and play mixed reality Demeo without controllers, just using their hands. I think that's cool. And I think to myself, man, that sounds like the best case scenario for a game without controllers. But then I think about when I played Demeo on my PlayStation VR 2 and how you could feel the actions that are taking place through your hands and how much better that was and how much it builds immersion. I still think even with the best case scenario for controllerless games, that it's still better with controllers. So
you just not having haptics is just weird, And I until they can give me gloves or some kind of things to slip on that gives me haptics with hand tracking, I'm really not interested unless it's I'm watching TV or a video or something. I mean, for consuming media, it's great. And that's about it. And I could see case points like Demeo and stuff being cool, but I'll still use a controller,
Yeah, it's neat. Like, I'll try it just because I think it's neat and I like to see where the technology is. And I'm sure it's going to be way better on Quest 3 with the advanced, depth sensor and all the stuff they've got going on. But I think it'll be something that I try once or twice and then I'll go back to playing with controllers again,
Yeah.
Until they figure out the feedback, I think controllers, for gaming, I think controllers still have to be the way to go. Like, I mean, it's just not as much fun. Like pulling a trigger on a first-person shooter. We've played shooters that are hand tracked. They're okay, they're just not as much fun. They're just not. And I think until you figure that out, until you figure the feedback out, whether it's gloves or whatever, but I just don't think they're there yet. But for everything else, for navigating menus, for for going in and doing immersive content, for playing certain games, I absolutely think you can. And then it's an easy upgrade from there to go, hey, we got these controllers you can go buy for 50, 60, 70 bucks, and then you jump into a separate controller, or you just use your Quest 2 controllers.
Well, I, for one, do not want Meta tracking what my hands are doing when I'm consuming media in VR.
That's right.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Can we have it? Can we
meet Meta?
Can we make it so that it just tracks the left hand and not the right?
You got to watch out with those downward-facing cameras. You could be in trouble.
Yeah, I know, right? Looper says, you know who loves to feel the action in her hands?
My mom.
Yeah, she does. She needs the vibrations for sure.
Mr. Lord Beavis, do you know who else likes to slip on the haptics?
My mom.
She's a slippy.
That's what I hear. Anyway, the moral of the story is Crossfire's better on PSVR 2 because haptics.
Right.
Like most Quest games and PC games are better on PSVR 2 because haptics. Haptics are really what makes the PSVR 2 platform what it is, I feel like. And if it weren't for those controllers, it would be more on par with the other platforms. It's the controllers that really set it apart, and the facial haptics too. I don't want to forget that. But again, I don't want to rehash Crossfire. It's very good. We spent a lot of time talking about it already. So why don't we talk a little bit about Green Hell, which we spent a lot of time talking about this month. Yeah, we do. I'm afraid, because it's a good game. It's a good game. I finished it. I played all the way through it because I really enjoyed it. I think it's a very good game. With that said, Ruuts, not the best port. It's a pretty mediocre port of a good game.
Yeah, no, I think Eric nailed it when we talked about it originally, and it's lazy, and it's, I guess, the if I was going to segment this for somebody doing timestamps, it would be why Green Hell isn't the PlayStation VR 2 game of the month is really the story, right? And
Spoiler
it's their
alert!
laziness. They did just
Spoiler alert!
well, yeah, spoiler alert. Well, we'll say that. Anybody that's watched our show knows this can't be because there's just too many flaws with it. Really good game. It could have been so much better. And I guess that's what we're really disappointed on, right? We wanted that really banger port that could have been phenomenal. And we've seen some of these really banger ports happen recently for PlayStation VR 2. We've seen examples of it, and that's what's so frustrating as well. So
Yeah, Eric, and it's even, I mean, I guess it's good that they came out and they're basically going to do the same thing that Supermassive Games did with Switchback, and they're going to fix it. But I mean, it's so like egregiously less than what it should have been that it's kind of frustrating that they didn't just postpone the launch, right? Because now, like, I've already played through it, and I wish it had been the version that's going to be out in 3 months that I had played through, but I'm not going to play it again now, right? It's done. I'm done with this game.
Yeah, like somebody like No Man's Sky can get away with it because there's so much content, and like you're never done with that game. So like, it's okay that they can fix it, and they have that reputation that they will always fix it. This game, to me, I mean, who cares now? Like, if they fix it now, does anybody really care? Is anybody gonna, I mean, I guess maybe there's some people that are waiting, and like maybe they bought it and they're like, they tried it for 15 minutes and then they're like, I'm not going to play this. Maybe I'll wait until it's done. That's the only body who's going back to it now. But I mean, I don't know. To me, it's just too late now. To me, they did a cheap port. They half-assed it because they just wanted to grab the money as fast as they could instead of waiting maybe another 3 months and doing it right. Like, they're going to do it right now anyway. Like, this is so stupid. Like, why do you?
That's the point.
You just put yourself in such a bad spot, and all you had to do was wait another 3 months. Like, I understand you want to get out before the holiday, or you want to get out before whatever drops next. But now, I mean, you put a bad taste in everybody's mouth, and Incubo's got a good reputation, and they just kind of screwed themselves here.
They could win people back if they if they launch this update alongside co-op. I feel like if they do that, then some people might come back to it, myself included. You know?
That's probably the only thing I would say, that co-op or some kind of big DLC where they add more into the game, make the map bigger or something. Something special.
Spirits of Amazonia DLC. There's story DLC for this game, the flat version. So, yeah, you're right. If they bring more content along with the update, then they could still turn it around for this one. Although they did take a bit of a hit with people over exaggerating the problems with it, calling it, the worst game on PlayStation VR 2, which is a pretty ridiculous statement, but people were saying it. So,
have they seen some of the garbage that's on PlayStation 2?
Well, what about the game of the year last year? I would say that is worse than this game. What the bat?
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's what it is too. Is that's what's disappointing about this, is because this game is good. It's a good game. Like Wes said, he just played through the whole thing. So the game itself is here. It's just some of the things that they cheapened out on. Like they just ported the exact game. Instead of making a PlayStation VR 2 game, they just gave you the Quest game on a different platform. Like, they just should have done a little bit more. Like they were that close. They just needed to go a little bit farther. And
where is Eric pegging out in OBS, Ruuts? Because people are saying he's super low.
oh my God, what audio shit tonight. Sorry guys, I don't know what to say.
You sound good in my headset. Man.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
I don't know. It's weird. I've changed a whole bunch of settings. I don't know. I've been trying to fix it as we've been going here. So apologize.
Is he coming up? Is he coming up close to the yellow, Ruuts, or is it?
I just turned it all the way up. I mean, it's probably not close to the yellow, but it's closer.
All right. Well, that's good enough. I
just
suppose.
was trying not to turn it
Who
up any
knows?
more than I needed to, just because of that background noise. Because if I turn that
Oh,
up,
I
then the
got you.
background
I
noise
got you.
goes
I got
up.
you.
So kind of like,
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Right.
yeah.
Yeah. I've been muting while I'm not talking, so you can probably turn it up.
But the good news is you're moving into your house, unpacking, getting all your shit done, so you'll have your office all ready, and this will be a distant memory, right? So.
Yep.
Magnum Gaming in the chat says Green Hell is hella fun. I stopped at getting the hook because I want to enjoy the rest of it with updated graphics. I certainly condone that that approach. It is a good game. You're going to want to play through it, and you have a lot of game left. If you just now got the hook, you're about halfway there, maybe. 17 hours it took me to play through this game, guys, and I enjoyed it all the way through. It was
crazy.
fun.
That's crazy. For the full game, I'm 17 hours into Baldur's Gate in one of my stories, and I feel like I'm just scratching the surface of that story. It's so fucking crazy.
That is crazy. Crazy. Let's talk about VR Skater. That came out this month too. And this is a bit of a weird conversation to have because we talked about VR Skater and how good it was, and it was very good. They came closer to the real life skateboarding experience that I ever thought that they would ever be able to do. It's a super polished game with unique controls, but it's a game that requires time and practice that I just don't have. And for that reason, we gave this game a glowing impressions when it came out, and I haven't been back to it since. Like, I haven't picked it back up.
You haven't been practicing?
I haven't been practicing. I feel, Ruuts, I feel like this is one of those examples like Gran Turismo, where there's just so much game here that I subconsciously avoid it because of that. Like, it's a great game, but I know I don't have 50 hours to get good at it. So I just typically go on to the next game.
It'd be a good palate cleanser. Come in, do a couple, race for, or, practice for a little bit, come back, Yeah.
Maybe.
I think it'd be cool to be really badass at it, but, I think you're almost like you're learning how to skateboard. Like, should I go grab my skateboard?
That's why I liked it. That's
Yeah,
why I liked it, because it was kind of like learning how to skate, learning how to play this game.
Yeah.
But with that said, Eric, I mean, we don't have very many of these extreme sports titles in VR, and this is a very high quality one. It's really good.
Yeah, it's well done. I mean, they have great the way they do the movements and the controls and the way you can skate is they did a really good job. I mean, they thought outside the box with this one. They did something different that nobody has really done before, and it feels like you're playing a skater in VR. I mean, it gives you a lot of that Tony Hawk vibes. Like you said, it's not easy. Like this is one of those things where you can kind of pick it up, you can kind of figure out getting the controls, but actually getting good at it and figuring out all the tricks is going to take you time, and it's good enough to be there. But yeah, you're right. I haven't been back to it either, so we're singing its praises, but it's just it's tough to get back to it.
Josh Close says, doesn't need that much time. I got the platinum in 10 hours. I assume he's talking about VR Skater. Well, good on you, bro. I put, I don't know, a couple hours into it, and I barely knew how to play it. So maybe it's one of those things where when it clicks, and then you have it. Or maybe you don't need all the moves to get the platinum. Maybe you can, learn a fraction of the move set and dominate the game with it. Maybe that's the case. Now, I'm weird like that. Like, I don't want to just learn 10 moves and play. Like, every time it teaches me something, I feel like I need to incorporate that. And I'm like this with every game. Like, I try to take everything the game gives me, even if it's not necessary. So, Oldar says there's a good song list too, and I will agree with that. I was actually surprised at how good the soundtrack was in this game. I was expecting it to be super generic, like a lot of indie games are, and I was happy to be wrong. The soundtrack's really good in this game. Awesome Tatum says, I like VR Skater, but it fell to the bottom of the list after Firewall and Crossfire came out. And that brings us to our fifth and final release of the month for PlayStation VR 2. Firewall Ultra came out, the long-awaited sequel to the PSVR 1 classic. I'm glad this game came out weeks ago, gentlemen, because Eric, 2 weeks ago, wouldn't have been in the consideration for Game of the Month based on the state of the game. But they fixed almost all of that stuff now, and from what I understand, the game's in a pretty good spot as it is today, which is great because I feel like PlayStation needs Firewall Ultra to be good right now.
Yeah, it definitely does, and I think it to me, I think it needed it to be good from the beginning, which is unfortunate because they needed that big one. But I mean, that they fixed it is great. I'm glad people are having fun in it finally. I mean, I went in there with Alex and Betty on Wednesday last week or Thursday, and it was still broken. So hopefully I haven't been in it since then.
They patched it. Yeah, they patched it again. I think yesterday or the day before. And every time they release one of these patches, it gets a little bit closer. Like well, for what it's worth, even on launch day, I mean, Ruuts, you were in there with us. The way that I typically play Firewall, which is private, it was pretty flawless, right? Like, we had very little issue with it that whole first day that we played it.
Yeah, there was no issues with matchmaking in the private lobbies at all, and it's definitely really good. I agree with Eric. It would have been better if they, and of course, assuming it's fixed now, would have been better on release. But the story is it wasn't, and it's now fixed and can be played as intended. So that's good. And
when was the last time you saw a game crash to PlayStation 5? Like, this was happening multiple times when we were in there. Like, and I was like, wow. I mean, that doesn't happen too often. I mean, it does happen, but very rarely do you see PlayStation let a game I mean, they usually don't ever pass a game through QA with it if it's going to crash your PlayStation, and it happened a lot.
I had it happen some with PSVR 1 games on PlayStation 5 when they started bringing that stuff over. Like Rush of Blood, for example, still runs like dog shit on PS5. But you're right. As far as like native PSVR 2 games, you don't see it very often.
Looper says Light Brigade crashed on him today.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean it happens.
Zenith clashes quite often, he says as well. I still haven't played
the
Zenith
game
on
crashes.
PS5.
I get that, but it's like like resetting, like crashing your PlayStation, like bringing you out of like the entire thing back to the PlayStation home. Just don't see that very often. I mean, I've seen this game shut down, but I mean, man, you're gonna go back to the main menu, but crashing the whole entire PlayStation is just weird. Having to shut the whole PlayStation down and restart it. Just unfortunate. I mean, it's stupid things. You know what I mean? Stupid things that prevent this great game from being perfect. It's just unfortunate.
So the story with this one kind of goes, it launches, private lobbies work well, publics work well if you're playing solo. If you want to take a squad, like if you want to take your friends and go into a public, that did not work. On top of that, there was a list of bugs that some players were having. It took, I think, less than a week later, they patched it so that the squads kind of work, and we went in at this point as well. And at that point we tried it, and the first couple of matches we went in, the squads held together and they worked. But then, like the last match we played, Eric got shifted to the other side, so that 3 of us were still on teams, but Eric wasn't. So it wasn't perfect at that point. They patched it again, and I think at that point the squads worked for the most part, but there was some other like jank that got introduced and some crashing, like Eric talked about. And now there's been another patch within the last couple of days that has taken care of a lot of that jank. So I think for the most part, the squads work now. I think most of the janks worked out. And not only that, but they've also refined the progression system so that it's a little bit easier to level up now and get money. They've also introduced the assignments so that you can go into the different vendors now and take assignments from them, which will allow you to rank up your rank and your XP in the game a lot faster, kind of like what Ghost of Tabor does. So yeah, as the game stands today, 1 month later, we'll say, give or take a few days, pretty close to the game we were hoping to get on launch. And really the only big complaint that's left in the arena now is that it's what it is. It's a button press game that's kind of a flat game that you play in VR.
Rogue TR says people loading in on the wrong side and team splitting is still happening. It's still a thing.
Really?
That's not good.
Wow, that is unfortunate.
And Looper
is
said
unfortunate.
that he heard that he was seeing hard crashes with GT7 Red Matter 2. I've got hundreds of hours in GT7. I've never had a crash. I've never had anybody tell me they had a crash. And then Red Matter 2, I don't know. I played a lot of that game too. Never seen a crash. But I can tell you that I played with Alex and Betty the other night. Betty crashed twice. And I think Alex crashed once, had to completely shut his whole entire PlayStation 5 down, restart it, and come back in. That was in 1 2-hour play session.
That sucks. I hate hearing that people are having all these troubles. I'm happy that I've been able to largely avoid all of this because I love Firewall. I loved it before, and I love it even more now. But yeah, it sucks that there are still people out there having trouble with it, even though it is significantly better than it was. It sucks that it's not completely better. So,
yeah.
I mean, their only saving grace is it's a great game, right? That's the saving grace. It's a great game. It's still a fun game, even though there's issues. And I still want to get back in there and play. So I want to do it. I want to go back and play. I will go back and play. I think a lot of people will go back and play, and they just hope they fix it soon so it's perfect,
So the question becomes then, and it's going the way that we all knew it would, Firewall or Crossfire? So we have a game in Crossfire with a ton of content, multiple different gameplay modes, and in terms of how the game runs, it's more polished than Firewall is. There's no question about that. And then we have Firewall, which is still kind of a work in progress. There's bugs. It doesn't quite work the way that it should work. But in terms of like long-term prospects for this game, the progression, the overall minute-to-minute fun, I think is probably a little bit ahead of a game like Crossfire Sierra Squad. I feel like if they were both in their optimal jank-free state today, I think Crossfire's going to be a good game to play for probably a year, 18 months. I feel like Firewall we're going to still be playing 5 years from now. So what's the game of the month? That's the question I pose to you, Ruuts. What's the game of the month?
Well, that's the I think if it wasn't for all the jank that Firewall has, I think I would probably lean that direction. My problem is the problems that they're having, especially in the beginning, which it still sounds like they're having, are big problems. It's a multiplayer game based on multiplayer, and it's difficult to group up with your squad, right? So they were already kind of fighting an uphill battle with the controls, which I don't think is a problem, personally, but some people do. It just was one more thing on top of everything else that didn't need to happen. And hopefully they'll get it ironed out, because I think I agree with you. I think 5 years down the road, this is a game that people are still going to be playing competitively. The people that play this game are loyal, right? Like, they really love this game. And I think they deserve to have it be in a better fixed state, you know?
So was that a vote for Crossfire?
Yeah, it was a vote.
for
It was a default for Crossfire, even though I think Crossfire is an amazing game, and I love it, and I love everything about the haptics. I think that overall Firewall is probably a better game. It's just with all the jank, I can't give it game of the month. Like, I just can't, you know? So,
Eric?
I don't think I would vote for Firewall even if it was perfect. I like Crossfire Sierra Squad this goddamn much.
I like it too. It's good. It's
so
really good.
Freaking good, man. They're both great games. Now, like, I mean, this is like choosing between like your kids, right? You're gonna love your kids, but you're gonna have to pick one. So, I just love Crossfire Sierra Squad. It's my kind of game. It's beautiful. I love the way it plays. The guns are so freaking good. Like, if you guys haven't played yet, just going to the gun range, like, there's gun ranges in every game, right? And you can shoot your guns and do whatever you want. I have so much fun just shooting the different guns in this gun range. There's 50 guns in the gun range, and there's like rocket launchers, and there's all different kinds of, there's handguns and there's grenades. But it just feels so good shooting the guns that just hanging out and shooting the guns in the gun range is a lot of fun, which you don't normally see in some of these games where you just like, you know, the shooting range is like a waste of time. It's not here. It's fun because the gameplay is good, and the visuals are fantastic, and it's fast and it's furious, and it is an arcade shooter, and that's okay. There's no need to apologize for it because it's an arcade shooter. It's just done really, really well. Now, I'm not saying I don't like Firewall. I like Firewall a lot. I probably will be playing Firewall, you know, a lot. But I love that the Horde mode in Crossfire is awesome. I want to do that more and more and more. So, I don't know. I'm going to vote for Crossfire. I would probably say we should probably put Firewall on runner-up, or, you know, as, you know, the other title, because I think if they do fix it, it could have a chance to be Game of the Year, possibly, but not in my book. But I think it's, you know, it deserves probably to be on the list, I guess, somewhere.
So I just assumed that you guys agreed that these are the two that it's down to.
yes, yes, I agree.
Okay.
100%.
So like if Fisherman's Tale, Green Hell, VR Skater, if you guys want to vote for either one of those, please do, because we do have who was it in the chat? Somebody just said VR Skater should be the game. It was VRMC. VR Skater.
It's definitely a really good game. It's just not on the level of those other games, in my opinion. But
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And just for the record, so that you all know, the chat polls are there as a tiebreaker. When we kind of come to an agreement on something, then we typically don't take the chat poll into account. With that said, based on my experiences, I love both of these games. I love both of these games. I've had a blast in both of them. And luckily for me, I haven't had to deal with 95% of the problems that people are having with the game. So for me, it's Firewall. If I talk about having the height of my fun in Crossfire versus the height of my fun in Firewall, I had more fun in Firewall, but I had a lot of fun in Crossfire too. Um, I absolutely think that this is a case that no matter which way you go, there should be a 1A and a 1B here. I think that they should both move on as a winner and a runner up. And you guys both say it's Crossfire. For what it's worth, the chat overwhelmingly agrees with you. 88% of the people who voted voted for Crossfire Sierra Squad. So that, in fact, is the PSVR game of the month. But I'm down with what you said, Eric. And unless Ruuts has a big objection to it, I think Firewall should get a runner-up mark so that we can revisit in 4 months and see what the state of the game is at that time.
Yeah, no, I think it absolutely is.
I would love to know like how many people are voting because Crossfire Sierra Squad's the better game now, or because Firewall Ultra being kind of broken at launch. Like how bad did first contact games hurt themselves?
Well, we can ask. We can ask.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know because to me, I think Crossfire is just a better game. For me, it's a more fun game right now. I mean, I don't know. I guess if I took it, I'm going to take it out of the. I'm going to take the game being broken out of the equation, and I just think I like Crossfire Sierra Squad better. I'm just would be curious to see if it's just because it's broken. Like how many people voted against it or voted for Crossfire because Firewall Ultra was broken? If it wasn't broken, would they have voted for it? If it launched perfectly, would it be Firewall Ultra? Because I think First Contact hurt themselves pretty badly here.
Well,
I'm gonna find out because I just put the question out to the chat. If Firewall had no issues, what's the game of the month?
Yeah, I think they absolutely hurt themselves, and I think that there's a lot of reasons for it. I just don't think developers, they need to take like one extra step and really think, okay, is this when we want to release our game or do we want to hold that? And if you still come to that decision, like we have to, then I get it. Like if you have to and you have no choice, but I think a lot of times developers do have a choice and they just make bad decisions.
And I do want to point out here that Sony is the publisher of this game, and I think that just as much of the blame falls on Sony, if not more so, for the issues that this game has from being pushed out too quickly. Because if I had to bet, I would say that the reason why this game got launched when it got launched in the state that it was in was because Sony insisted on it, and they didn't want Crossfire Sierra Squad to launch before they did.
Well, I'll tell you what though, if I was them putting this game out after the first Firewall, I would have. My number one priority is there cannot be any multiplayer problems, none, zero, because that was the biggest problem with the first one, right? Like standing in lobbies and people dropping out of. I mean, granted, they don't have the same issues as far as people dropping, and now everybody drops, but it's still multiplayer issues. It's still the biggest. It's a multiplayer game. It'd be like Crossfire saying, okay, I played Crossfire, but I can't play with my friends. It's you know what I mean? Like, great, you could play by yourself, but I have to put myself, even though I didn't experience it, I have to put myself in the person's shoes that went in there expecting to join up with their squad and not able to. It's great that I've got 3 other friends to squad up with, but a lot of people don't. And, I guess they don't have the other side of the squads to group up with, I guess, rather in this situation. So,
Playtesting. This is why
Yeah.
playtesting is so crucial, and we already talked about it. Um, this is why it's important, and I get that there's a lot that kind of goes into putting together a good group of playtesters. If only, Eric, there was a place that these studios could go that already had a group of playtesters all set up and ready to access.
Yeah,
Somebody
a group
should
of
do
great,
that.
great playtesters that know what the frick they're doing, that are like good VR players. You know what I mean? It's
That
amazing
care.
when you can find
That
those
care.
places. Yeah, right.
How many
Yeah.
people just, a lot of people just, they get the, like, this is the reason why Wes and I don't do play testing, is because I'm not going to play test it. I might want to check the game out, but I'm not going to play test it, so I don't do it. You know, if that's the mentality of most of the play testers, are you really having your game play tested, is my guess or question.
Right. So Magnum Gaming asks, why doesn't the least dominant hand have any control of the gun when held in Crossfire? It feels weird after gripping the muzzle, and I can't move the end iron sight in Crossfire. Okay, the reason why this is because there's a setting for this,
Yep.
and you can actually there's a scale, and you can set the amount of control that your offhand has on the aiming. And how the choices that you make when you first boot the game up kind of determines where the default is on that. But you can absolutely go into your options afterwards and set it where you want. It's called I think it's called something like auxiliary hand control or something like that. And by setting your auxiliary hand control, you can have it so that your left hand has a lot of impact on the aiming, or you can set it down to where it has absolutely no impact on it. So just make sure that you've got that set up and turned on to 10, and it'll handle like a normal shooter when you do that.
Yeah, I turned mine way down too. I remember when me and Wes first got in, I didn't like the feeling where it got too close and it automatically snapped to it, and I wanted a bit of a feel like I had to bring my hand to it, and I turned mine like it was up. I think it was up at full, and I turned it down to like half, so it didn't like snap up right to it.
So
You had an issue,
actually
Wes, where
that's actually a different setting. What you're talking about is the auto grab, and there's a setting for that too.
Yeah, where it feels like your hand magnets to the stock of the gun or the So I just
I
didn't
notice that. I didn't notice that very much today when I was playing on Steam. I think they may have updated it so that that's not so prominent anymore.
Did you have that thing where you had a tough time getting your hand off of it, like you did in the PlayStation version?
No,
Like,
not once.
Yeah.
Not once. So maybe they fixed that because you're right. On PlayStation, I had a lot of problems with when I need to reload. My hand would not come off of the gun; it would just stay stuck to it, and that's a big problem in horde mode when you get around wave 15 and shit's getting crazy. A split second of fighting with your gun could end your run. You know what I mean? So yeah, I had none of that today though. It worked perfectly on Steam. So yeah, looks like it made a little bit of difference, but still 2-1 people vote Crossfire over Firewall. That people just generally think that it's a better game.
That's just how is that possible, Wes? It's a terrible game that they owe us an apology for.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, go ask Eurogamer. It's not good. Go ask. I don't want to start calling people out. Go ask that guy. You know exactly who I'm talking about. Why it's not good enough to have him play it for 2 hours before he makes a review. But
Baron wants to know, are we at a point in the gaming timeline where jank is just expected and fixing a game over the 12 months after release is the norm? It is if we accept it. That's the problem, I think, in the gaming industry overall, flat, VR, whatever it is. There's an acceptable level, of course, but it's gone way, 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 way past it in so many games.
I agree with that statement.
And
I agree with that
people
statement.
just don't say anything, like, and then on the other end, there's people that are too critical of things that aren't that big a deal. And so, like, it's a weird mixed bag.
there has to be an acceptable level because of, especially when you're talking about indie developers with limited resources, and when you're talking about, you know, some of these devs that have never made a VR game before, there has to be some tolerance to day one jank. What the difference is, though, is when you're talking about day one jank that's fixed on day two versus jank that persists over weeks and months of really stuff that, I mean, not being able to play Firewall with a squad is a big fuck up. That's a big fuck up. You know, having your gun angle be slightly off, or having occasional crashing on the first day that they fix on game two or day two is a completely different thing. So we have to have some tolerance of it. But
It's not just small studios though. Fucking Vertigo Games killed fucking After the Fall.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's a big studio that has the money, has the people, has the time
Yep.
to fix their game, and they broke the horde mode in the middle, right when they had their second release. That game was just about to start to take off again, and they destroyed it.
Dude, if you played that game on PlayStation VR at launch, it would blow your mind just how fucking janky and broken that shit was. People think Firewall's bad on launch day for PSVR 2. It's nothing. It does not hold a candle to what After the Fall was on PlayStation VR 1. It was unplayable. It was so fucking broken. So you're right.
Man, I
But there's a
hope
difference.
Arizona
It's
Sunshine
all
is better than After the Fall, man.
Well, the good news is After the Fall had so many things going on with multiplayer crossplay, and like we're talking about a co-op game, you know, a story based. I'm assuming it's co-op, but yeah, I think it should be a completely different deal. Yeah. Hopefully.
But
crossed, I hope so.
Yeah, so the moral of the story is all relative. I think people should be critical where it's deserved. I don't like this concept of a faking outrage to make the developer pay for releasing a game with bugs. I think you should be exactly as upset as you really are. You know what I mean?
Right.
Don't project hatred onto these developers to try to get them to manipulate them basically into doing what you think should be done, because you have just as much of a detrimental effect as you do with actually helping, because you make it so that these studios want to run far away from the thought of ever making a VR game, because when they see how these people are sometimes, it's just like it's a big deterrent for some people. Mickey Barrios doing Mickey Barrios shit in the chat, dropping a Dread-Eye VR Steam key. That's a pretty decent game. It's short, but it's fun for an hour or two. So pick it up.
EAE says, does Crossfire have crossplay with PC and PSVR 2? Isn't that coming, or is it already?
It's coming.
Okay.
It's coming. It's not active right now, but it is coming soon. It won't be long before that is active.
Cool.
Let's move on. Congratulations to all the winners. So just to recap, MetaQuest 2, I Expect You to Die 3, Cog in the Machine is the game of the month, with Swordsman getting a runner-up. Just for those of you who are new to the channel, what this whole thing is a nomination process for Game of the Year. That's why we do Game of the Month. We're sorting out nominees for Game of the Year. And if one of these games gets named as a runner-up, then they also get a nomination. So Swordsman, it's just as good as if it would have won. When we debate what the Game of the Year for Quest is later this year, we will be talking about both of those games, and we'll, you know, with our patrons, and we'll decide who the actual Game of the Year is at that point. PCVR, there was no runner-up. Crossfire Sierra Squad was the hands-down winner on PC this month. It really wasn't even close. The other two games that we nominated, War of Being and the Riese Project, we're calling those early access. We will come back to those if they ever get their shit together and release something that's not janky and runs on most headsets. PSVR 2, we did have a runner-up. That runner-up being Firewall Ultra. pretty good chance that we could see a lot of improvement for this game over the next few months. So never has there been a more deserving runner-up, but I think it's pretty clear that most people feel like Crossfire Sierra Squad, severely underrated by the VR reviewers out there, and a very, very good game for PlayStation VR 2. It won 2 platforms today, guys. It's the game of the month on PlayStation and PC. That's pretty impressive. So good one. Good call. Good job, I guess I should say. Smilegate.
Yep.
Shout out Smilegate.
Old Darth wants to know, Eric, have you played the Uncharted VR 4 VR mod yet? He just moved. He hasn't done shit.
No, I was just typing to you just now.
Oh.
I haven't yet, but it's on my list. As soon as I get my studio set back up and put my computer back together and build everything back, it's probably one of the first things I'm going to do. I mean, Ruuts has been raving about how good this game is. This is one of my favorite franchises of all time. To be able to do this in VR is amazing. It's been killing me that I haven't had a chance to do it, and I absolutely can't wait to do it. So it is one of the first things I'll do as soon as I get everything set up.
It's one of the best games
Red Dead
ever.
Redemption for $19, and I want to go in there too, Ruuts.
Yeah, I need to figure out how to get the flat to VR. Isn't there a way to switch it over to like a more modern? Yeah. So if anybody has that, or if you guys have access to that, because my thing is I want to finish that game. But yeah, I agree. Uncharted 4 is probably one of the best games I've ever played. The fact that it's in VR makes it even better. And I'm almost done with it. I think I've got to be on the last chapter or second to last chapter, probably.
Yeah. We need to put this one to bed because I'm ready to move on to Far Cry 6.
Yes, and me too.
Anyway, we'll talk more about that in a moment. Right now, we want to do some reminders and talk a little bit about what's out this week. And guys, I don't know if you heard, but there's a lot of shit out this week. This week is fucking ridiculous with VR releases. As you can see here, we're doing this segment a little bit differently now. We're going to the XR update calendar. What a great idea, Ruuts. You go to your VR news website, you click on calendar, and all of a sudden, all the fucking releases pop up in order. Isn't that crazy?
That's a really good idea because I never know what the hell's going on. I mean, there's not too many places to find out what's going on. Even for somebody like you that's putting the show together, it's sometimes hard to find out what's coming out, right? But not anymore. Now they can just go to xrupdate.com/releases and get everything all in one shot. I think it's a really good idea.
Yep. Bookmark this page. Now, with that said, this page is a work in progress. We have to go in here and basically enter in all of these release dates by hand. So this week is solid, and this month is in pretty good shape. We don't have all the October stuff in there yet, but give me a week. Give me a week and come back, and you're going to see this calendar completely populated out. And this will be a nice little one-stop shop that you can go check on at any time to see when your favorite game is coming, if it has a release date. Eric, why hasn't anybody done this before? Isn't this like the biggest no-brainer idea of all time?
I don't get this. I mean, we've been bitching about this for a long freaking time, man. I'm like, I don't understand. It's so hard to figure these things out, to figure out when games launch, what's coming up, what was launched like 6 months ago. Like, how come this has never been done before? I mean, this is why we got to go out and make our own website.
That's right. That's exactly right. There's stuff like this that comes up all the time. And like, if you want it done right, do it yourself. xrupdate.com, xrupdate.com, xrupdate.com. We're going to be the best. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that we're the best right now, but we're going to be the best.
I dropped the link into the to this releases in the chat as well. So.
Thank you. Everybody get it. Everybody bookmark it. Check it with us every week on this channel, because this is how we're doing out this week from now on. We're just going to come and look at this thing, because look at all this stuff, guys. So first of all, we start with the 12th, which is 2 days from now, Tuesday. Pixel Rip 1995 coming to PSVR 2. Talk about going under the radar, Eric. Like, most people don't even know this is coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird that people haven't had a chance to play this yet. I mean, on PlayStation. So, man, this is huge. I love it. I mean, such a good game. One of the best ever.
2 days later, Down and Out comes to PSVR 2. Ruuts, who doesn't want to fist fight janky ass NPCs in the street?
Yeah, absolutely. I know I do. Paradise Decay, Slippy says morning all. Slipping
What's
in.
up, PD? Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you. That very same day, we have a bunch of releases. Behind the Frame VR comes out that day. It's a kind of a weird story-driven artistic game, literally artistic game. Gazzlers comes out Thursday as well, Eric. We had some fun in that demo, didn't we?
I love Gazzlers. It's really, really good. And they were actually at Gamescom again. I had a chance to talk to the guys and play a little bit more of an upgraded demo. So love it. Looking forward to it. Hopefully that game. It's been a long time, Wes. That game's been in development for like 3 years.
Yeah, and it's finally coming out. And again, we had fun playing that one level over and over again. So I can only imagine how much fun we're going to have this week as we get into the full version of the game. Twist X is coming out. It's kind of another weird take on Tetris. We get a lot of this stuff through App Lab, and here comes another one. Grapple Tournament. Grapple Tournament's going free to play, and this is interesting, Eric, because Grapple Tournament's been around for a while now. It's a game that generally gets good reviews as a $15 title on Quest and on Steam, but it's going free to play this week. And what's interesting about that is the people that paid for it are getting like $60 worth of in-game stuff. So if you bought this game, don't get mad. You're actually about to get your money's worth and then some. But this is going to be a solid game for free, right?
Yeah, and they got a ton of stuff. Like there's a ton of new updates they have coming, and this new. And when you get a multiplayer game like this, like again, some people probably bought it and paid for it. But guys, sometimes games need to eventually. It's been out for a while. They need to eventually go free, especially when you have a lot of multiplayer games. Pop 1 went free, right? And everybody still plays that, but they gave you something for it. You know what I mean? So that's what the biggest thing is the guys, Gravity League, they knew that they were, needed to take care of the people that paid for it, and they're going to give you a whole bunch of stuff free. And now, guess what? All these new people are going to get in play, so you don't have to worry about not being able to find, people to play with in there. You're going to have more people, full lobbies, and they have season passes coming with a whole bunch of new skins and, different weapons, and this is a fun, fast game that, just more people need to play. That's all. And just the free to play will bring more people in.
And listen up, content creators. They're sending out review keys this week for Grapple Tournament. And you're saying to yourself, why do I need a review key for a game that's going to be free to play next week? Well, I'll tell you why. Because if you get your review key now and you claim it and you go into the game and play for just 60 seconds, play for a minute. When the game goes free on Thursday, you're going to get all those in-game goodies. So if you're a content creator and you're watching this right now, check your email inbox because there's a key in there waiting for you. But you won't get your free stuff if you don't play the game before Thursday. So everyone, whether you bought this or you got a key for it, maybe you're in Impact Labs and you got a key there, get in the game and play, or at least boot the game up so that this Thursday you can get your free stuff. And if you're a content creator that didn't get a key, hit me up and we'll get you one. Anyway, moving on, Ruuts. Crisis Brigade 2 Reloaded comes to PSVR 2. This is a very good game coming to PSVR 2. I'm sure it's going to be better on PSVR 2. Most of these games are. I think it's pretty bad timing for Crisis Brigade 2 because Crossfire just came out, right? Crossfire just came out. And you watch, Ruuts, these same dudes that came out and shit on Crossfire last week for being too arcadey are going to come out and praise Crisis Brigade next week like a bunch of dopes.
And they'll defend it. Yeah, you're right. And it's a weird dynamic that I don't know. I think you're right. 100%. Tom Fletcher Eater Gaming wanted to know if anybody's heard anything on Behemoth. Haven't heard anything for a while, right?
I heard it's huge.
It's huge. I think we're a ways away on that one, right? So
Huge. They still say coming this year. They still say coming
really,
2023.
damn.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that. That last year they said that about The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution. And then to meet that promise, they released a half-baked Quest version in December. I don't want that for Behemoth. Hopefully we do get it this year, and hopefully it's legit when we get it. I'm just afraid that they're going to push it out on one platform to get it out this year, and then it's going to be janky and buggy the way that Retribution was. Hopefully they learn their lesson from that, and that won't be the case.
Yeah,
it could be very possible because of the Quest 3 that they're waiting to do a big announcement for that. That's why
true.
That's true. So hopefully that's what I'm hopeful for. Like I'm hopeful because I don't want the same thing. I don't want it pushed out early either. I want it to be perfect. So if they are going to push it this year, I'm hopeful that they just have had a lot to say, but they have been quiet because it's going to be a big announcement at MetaConnect or something.
What do you think the odds that San Andreas drops with Quest 3? Like just a boom, it's dropping.
I think it's possible. I think it's possible. I think that would be a great way for them to make a splash and really get people talking about Quest 3. They're going to need games like that to sell this headset to people. It's not a given that everyone that went out and bought a Quest 2 is going to go drop $500 on a Quest 3. They got to make people want it, and I think a game like that would do it.
Because a lot of people already have the Quest 2, right? Like you said, and for the people that came from AAA gaming that put it on the shelf and it's gotten dusty, like they need something to draw them back in, right? So I don't know. So that's my hope. We haven't heard something for so long that we got to hear something at some point, right? So,
yep, I think so.
Yeah, if we don't hear anything in this fall, I think it's dead.
Yes, at some point we have to assume that maybe it just doesn't come, So I mean, hopefully that's wrong, but
it's possible. It's possible also that Meta decided to stop funding it, and it's now becoming a cross-platform game instead of a Quest game. I mean, that could be happening as well.
Yeah, that would be actually good.
Yeah.
In a way, So.
But this Thursday, Alvo is coming to PlayStation VR 2 as well. It's under embargo, so I can't say too much about it. But what I can say, Eric, is that we did play this, and it is a solid port of Alvo. It's the best version yet, right?
Heck yeah, this is really well done. I mean, the PlayStation VR 2 looks amazing. Again, we got to be careful. We can't say it too much yet because it is under embargo, but I think it's an awesome deal. If you own it on PlayStation VR 1, you're going to get it for $5, and I think that's a great deal. And if you don't own it, this is a great platform to go get it on. So it is the fastest shooter in all of VR. It moves so quickly. The slide is amazing. The zombie mode is very cool. This is Call of Duty, man. It gives you perks. You have kill streaks, you have perks, you have tons of weapons. You can slide, you can jump, you can slide around corners, pop up, jump up in the air and shoot somebody, just like Call of Duty used to be able to do. And it's just a sick game. It's so good.
What I like about it, Ruuts, is the versatility of it. There's so many different game modes that you can play. It's not like most of these competitive shooters in VR have one or two things that they do, and then if you want to play something else, you have to go to a different game. Alvo has like 4 or 5 different game modes right now, with more coming.
Right. Yeah, and like Mash said, it's the closest thing to Call of Duty that I've played in VR, and I like those faster paced games when it comes to shooters. So I definitely will be playing Alvo, and I am not under embargo, and I can say I love the PlayStation VR 2 version, even though I've never tried it. But I would imagine, I mean, I've tried the PC version and I love it. So why would this one not be even better with adaptive triggers and everything else? So I'm looking forward to trying it when it comes out.
Well, if you want to try it, I know a guy. So
yeah, I definitely
we'll hook you up.
Sure.
And then to round everything out, You Calligrapher
Is it really?
coming out on the
Holy
17th.
Holy shit! Really? Is it
I didn't
really?
even see that on there.
Oh my god.
You Calligrapher. You. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I don't know what it is. It doesn't. It doesn't inspire a lot of excitement in me when I look at that title and look at that thumbnail. But it is coming, so maybe this is something you're into and you're excited for. And if so, you don't have to wait very much longer. You Calligrapher coming to PSVR 2 this week.
There's got to be somebody waiting out there that's just like, oh my god, dude.
Thank God, and now my PlayStation purchase pays off.
That's right.
Finally go. And
Or they're going to get it. Now today's the day.
Yeah. This is the buyer. This is like, oh, I'm gonna go get it now. I can write in VR. I can write calligraphy in VR.
I wonder if that would translate. Yeah, I wonder if it would translate because I don't know if that it would. Could.
That's 9 releases, guys, in 7 days.
It's crazy.
Most of them PSVR games, PSVR 2, the platform that gives you nothing to play. And for what it's worth, just really quickly, Ruuts, just peek down to next week. We won't talk about it. Just let people really quick glance at the thumbnails for what's coming next week.
Is it? How do we do that?
Just scroll down, bro. Scroll down. See, some stuff on there. Some stuff, Eric. You see some stuff on there?
Lots of cool stuff, man. And this is like September was like our slow month, right? Like October is going to be insane. I mean, I don't know. These next 3 months are going to be crazy. Keep an eye on XR Update to see what's coming.
That's right. xrupdate.com/releases. All right. So that's what's out this week. Let's take a look at some viewer comments. I want to say from last week, but this first one is actually from a couple weeks ago that I remembered and I wanted to just point out. This is from our friend Simplex, who likes to be the contrarian from time to time. He's our resident naysayer. Simplex says, Far Cry 1. Okay, so a little context here to this comment. This comes as his response to our saying on this episode. This is the episode where we played Far Cry 1. I said that, it's cool and all, but it is just Far Cry 1, which is like a 20-year-old game. I would be more excited for Far Cry 5 or 6 in VR, or even like a Far Cry 3 in VR. This is Simplex's response to that. He says Far Cry 1 was made by Crytek and uses CryEngine. All subsequent versions were made by Ubisoft on their proprietary engines. So those LBE, location-based versions of current Far Cry are definitely not on CryEngine. And there is a negative chance that this mod would ever work on other Far Cry games. They're only Far Cry by name because Ubisoft bought the IP. His point being that it's impossible, pretty much, that Far Cry VR mod would come to any of the other games. Good call, bro. That one aged well.
Well, I think that Far Cry 6 one might play with the other ones. I'm not sure. Right? Like the Luke Ross one.
Well, Luke Ross kind of alluded to that. He said it wasn't easy to get this thing built up because it is built in a custom engine, like Simplex points out here. But he got it done. And basically, he said he's going to wait and see what the response is to Far Cry 6. And if people want, then he might go back and do some of the other ones as well.
I say go back and do them after you do a whole bunch of other shit that just came out in the last few years. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need him to do the whole lineup of Far Cry before he goes to something else.
Yeah, I agree. I'm still waiting on my Last of Us VR mod,
That'd be cool.
please.
I was surprised that he had to have tried, like maybe it's just giving him trouble.
Anyway, I'm looking forward to Far Cry 6. Apparently, it runs pretty good. I've watched a couple videos on it now. Benjo did one, GT did one, PD did one. I don't know if GT did one or not. PD did one. Looks good, man. Looks like it runs really well.
Yeah. Well, after playing Uncharted 4 and seeing how good that game is, makes me want to play this one. You know, these games are amazing, and we haven't tried many of them. Like, how many games, Wes, have we played now for the first time in VR that were like big bangers when they came out 10, 15 years ago, and our first experiences in virtual reality? I think that's super cool.
Yeah, I agree. It makes me glad that I fell away from gaming. What's up, Simplex? Simplex is in the chat. Speak of the devil. What's up, bro? Good to see you. Thanks for joining. What do we have next on here? We have Fluke Rogi said it will be interesting to see if Alvo can incorporate the ability to switch between 60 frames per second reprojective and a native 90 frames per second. The Synth Riders guys and another dev who escapes me at the moment have previously said that it wasn't possible to do due to the way that compiling for the PSVR 2 works, and that it basically bakes in your selected mode when you compile the game. Maybe there have been changes on the Sony end in the past few months. We need that ability to choose as a basic option. Well, I can't speak to anything that's been done by Synth Riders or anything else. I can say that this option is in the current beta version of Alvo, and it works. Right, Eric?
It definitely works.
It works. Yeah. So there you go. That's a groundbreaking feature. No one's done this before, to have that as an option to do 120 reprojected or 90 native. It's going to be up to you. If the reprojection really bothers you at 120 and you don't want it, you can step down to 90, maybe give up a little bit of visual fidelity for that. Or if the reprojection is not a problem for you and you want that extra smoothness, there you go. It'll be completely up to you, assuming that this makes it in to the final build and there's no red tape from Sony or anything like that. But I can tell you that it was in the beta that I played recently and seemed to work pretty well.
We checked it out. And it's cool.
I just want it to be steady. That's my thing. I'm willing to give up a little bit of fidelity to not see blur when I move my head. You know, we say that if you don't notice it, it's no big a deal, but I don't want anything happening that's going to pull me out of immersion. Nothing. And so if I just happen to glance at it and notice it, now I'm the bad guy for noticing it. And I just don't want it to be there. You know what I mean? I just want it to be smooth like VR should be. So.
I mean, I prefer the native 90 too, but I like that there's an option, right? Like that's cool.
Options are good.
It's like, again, not many games have done this. I don't know if there's actually any.
None. Zero.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool that it's in here and that they're able to do it, which I think is awesome. But yeah, I mean, for me, I prefer the native 90. But there are people out there that I know that they like the 120. They like
it depends.
Upscale with reprojection to the 120.
It depends on the game. Like there are like if you gave me the option for 90 in Horizon Call of the Mountain, I would have taken the 90 all day in that game. But then there are other games that use the reprojection, like Synapse, that it's just butter smooth. And I don't think I would take 90 in that game. I think I would leave it just like it is. It just depends on the game.
It would depend on the fidelity too. Like, what if you turned it to 90 on Synapse and it looked exactly the same? Why would you not want to leave it on 90? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. At least for me, anyway.
Well, because the reprojection is done so well in that game that it actually adds smoothness instead of taking it away. That's why. Mm-hmm. It's done very well. They modified the engine to. It's not standard Sony reprojection. They modified it to work better. Basically, that's what I'm saying.
Right. Well, 90 still could still be smoother though, right?
I guess it's possible. It's possible, sure.
Yeah.
That's why the option is
the key,
the
right?
best way to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on to Jank Media 1985 says, instead of people dogpiling on janky games, take 5 minutes and send the developers an email on some bugs you came across. I did that for Bad Dreams, and within a day they emailed me back and said that they pinpointed the bug I described and will work on fixing it in the next patch. Small things like that can go a long way, especially for games that have a smaller audience. Good call. Yeah, absolutely. That's the most productive thing you can do. Rather than feigning outrage and trying to cause up a bunch of shit stirring and review bombing, how about just give some feedback? Typically, developers are very receptive to that sort of thing. And in a game like that, with a small team of indie developers, you may be actually informing them of bugs that they're not aware of and allowing them to correct it. So, good comment. I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing. Just Living 00 says the Dr. Acula joke is a Mitch Hedberg joke. That's true. That was a Mitch Hedberg joke. And I don't know if he's leaving this comment to say, hey, I'm into the same comedian you are, dude. Good call. Or if he's saying it to be like, that's not your joke, bro. You need to give credit where credit's due. So I don't know what he means by that, but I'll absolutely say that that is a Dr. Acula joke. And most of the jokes that I tell on here are not my jokes. Like a lot of them are Norm Macdonald jokes. Even the my mom thing is from regular show. That's not mine. So yeah. So if we need to credit comedians for their jokes, yeah, you're right. Don't go see Dr. Acula, ladies and gentlemen. He sucks.
Yeah,
That's
and
according to Mitch Hedberg.
He might cause more blood loss than help, right? So,
but kudos to Just Living for recognizing that it was a Mitch Hedberg joke, because I imagine that most people didn't know that. Mitch Hedberg was hilarious. He was fucking great, all-time great comedian, Mitch Hedberg. Piggin one says, Deckard this month. What has Brad told you? Well, if Brad had told me something, obviously I wouldn't be able to come out here and tell you all. But since this comment, Brad has done his own video, and I would suggest people go watch that hour and a half presentation by Brad, which talks about what's it called, Eric? The Valve program that he was talking about on that last video.
I actually didn't see it.
Oh, it was Valve. Shit, I gotta look it up now.
I didn't see it. I haven't had a chance. I've been traveling for like the last 3 days, so I know he did have a good video out about some stuff going on with Valve, but I did not see it.
And if you don't get a chance to see the
Galileo
video, I would imagine if we do a show tomorrow, Brad will be talking a lot about it.
I would say definitely, yeah.
Valve Galileo is what it was called, and he talks for 90 minutes about this. And for what it's worth, guys, it seems like it's about to happen.
It would make sense.
I mean, there's just so much movement on so many different fronts now over the last 4 to 6 weeks. Something's happening, and I don't know if that's going to be an announcement or if they're just picking up and really starting to move on production and and kind of getting their ducks in a row. But it seems like something's about to happen with Valve.
Wow. So Deckard drops. What do you do? Like, my thought is I might not get the Quest 3 because I would still have access to it with D, and then I could have the Deckard and be the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think the answer is we kind of have to have both here. I don't have a Quest Pro and I don't have a D. So I think I'd probably have to have both, but at the same time, I mean, if they drop that thing and it's like $1,500, it's kind of rough. It's kind of a tough pill for me to swallow. I don't know I'll be able to do it. I might have to sell some stuff,
Yeah.
You
got that
vest. You gotta have them all.
You got that vest you never use.
That's true. Be selling my vest, be selling off my wheel, be selling my children, all of that shit. Last comment from Rickaron7593. He says, for me, horror games are boring. They don't scare me, and many times they take place in a small area like a house or whatever. Fair enough. I love them. but many people don't. Like a lot of people don't. So it's just whatever you like, bro.
Won't let me. Okay, I was gonna say, wouldn't let me scroll. Won't let me scroll to that comment. So you're just gonna have to take Wes's word that it's there. It's there. You can kind of see it a little bit.
All right, fine. Let's move on to the wish list segment. This is where we ask all of you to wish list the game, and it very well could be the same game that we wish list. We're trying to make it easier, even easier for people to wish list these games because it's such a big deal for these developers. It helps them on the storefronts. It helps them fight the algorithm and get better placement on the store. It also helps them gauge interest, and it lets them know if people are going to buy their game or not buy their game, or if they want it. Maybe they want it, but they can't afford it. Maybe they should put it on sale. It helps a lot. There's a reason why these developers always ask people to wish list. It's very, very helpful for them, and that's why we do this every week. And if you're wondering what I'm going to wish list this week, I've already done it. RUINSMAGUS Complete, coming to PlayStation VR 2 next week, actually. This is a improved version of RUINSMAGUS for PlayStation VR 2. It also includes all the DLC that was subsequently released on the other platforms. So this is the complete version of RUINSMAGUS. I expect it will be the best version of RUINSMAGUS, and it comes out next week. If you're like me and you want to wishlist this game, it is linked in the description below, and I'm about to drop that very same link in the chat. So it's literally just 2 clicks away for anyone who wants to help support this game. This is what I'm going to start doing every week, Ruuts. I'm going to start giving them the links to just click through and wish list whatever it is that I wish list.
That's a good idea.
What are you going to wish list?
I think I was trying to find that one game. What is the one with the presidential dildos? But I guess we've already talked about that one a long time ago. No, there's actually quite a bit on there. I think that one that you just said was actually a really good one for the PlayStation VR 2. Although I seem to have trouble wish listing stuff on PlayStation VR more than I do other ones. I think it's just because I don't use it as much. I guess I don't know.
Rome Colossus says RUINSMAGUS looks kind of polished. Eric, I think that's a fair statement. What do you think?
It's really, really good, and I think this is definitely going to be the definitive version to buy.
Yeah, I think so too. I haven't played it yet, but I'm going to play it, and I will tell you exactly what I think about it next week. So if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you ring that bell. Much more to come on this title. Faux show. All right. And I think that's our show, ladies and gents. I guess our last reminders this week and every week is how you can support us, our channel, and our community. Of course, if you haven't already, you want to make sure that you subscribe, that you ring that bell so that you can stay up to date with all of the latest and greatest VR gaming news and content. But if you are already subscribed and you want to do a little something extra, you can support us on Patreon. $3 per month. That's all we ask. And for that, you get our weekly show notes. You get exclusive content. You get insider updates. You get your name in the ticker at the end of the show. And you get our eternal gratitude for allowing us to do things that we otherwise wouldn't be able to do. So thank you, everyone out there who supports us on Patreon. Thanks for those who donate through Super Chats and other means. We really, really appreciate you guys. And that's why I took an hour today and edited a gameplay video. I did a Quest 3 gameplay capture. And as usual, the audio goes all out of sync when you do that. Eric, have you figured out a way around that yet so that you can just stream or capture Quest footage and not have to fuck with it to put content out?
No, because as soon as you go more than, I think, 15 minutes, that's when the sync goes out. So the only way you could do it is to stop at 15 minutes and then restart it again.
I used a program called Air Receiver, which basically turns your computer into a Chromecast, and you can just stream right to your PC. And it seemed to work a little bit better, but it still, by the time I got halfway through, it was 10 seconds out of sync. Like it went from nothing to 10 seconds in the span of a minute. Like it was bad.
Wes, I think people are freaking out in the chat that you let the cat out of the bag that you've been using the Quest 3. Wes has early access.
Oh, did I say Quest 3?
Yeah.
We've been using it for 6 months. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's right.
Good catch, guys. Yeah, I guess I need to pay more attention to the words that are coming out of my mouth. Yeah, I broke embargo. My bad, Meta. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I guess you guys...
Whoops.
I thought that people recognized my hands in that video the other day. And I thought the cat was already
Those
out
are
of
your
the bag.
hands. Holy shit.
Yeah. Anyways, Quest 2. I made a Quest 2 video. And first one I've made in a long time. And I did it for our patrons. Because I didn't do my usual show notes last week. Or this week for that matter. So hopefully... the 2-hour gameplay is entertaining for
How
them.
crazy is it that we're almost 3 generations in and they haven't really given us a proper way to stream our content to a TV? Like, it's still fucking weird. It's still janky. For the average person that's just like learning it, they're like, what is happening? Why can't I? It's just so weird. And hopefully the new one fixes it, because it's just not perfect. So.
That's right. It's not perfect. For sure, not perfect.
You still can't get your chat in your headset, too. I mean,
yes,
like,
the
people
chat.
don't want to live stream and you can't see your chat still. I mean, Quest 3 is going to fix it all. Everything's going to fixed, I promise.
I hope so, man. Because I the only thing I did successfully today on that thing was play I Expect You to Die. Like, I couldn't play PC on it. I couldn't make a good video without having to spend a bunch of time editing it. Like, yeah, hopefully they get some of this shit lined out with the next generation.
If they want to consider it a PCVR headset on any level, I have to be able to connect to it every single time. Not, whenever it decides to let me connect. Because legitimately, I spent almost an hour, 45 minutes trying to connect my link cable. It wouldn't work. I had to go AirLink. Eric couldn't go AirLink. He had to go Link. And Wes couldn't do either. So, like, fuck, man, what is happening? So.
PSVR 2 exclusive channel. That's what's about to happen, because I'm done with this shit, man.
There you go. Hey, so Baron says, do you guys think the Nintendo VR rumors are true? And
yes.
I will say something that I haven't said. I don't think I've said publicly yet. So before all these rumors came out, we were in Germany for Gamescom, and we went to a party that was put on by the Nordic committee. It was a whole bunch of developers from the Nordic countries, and at this party I was talking to a reporter who knew a gentleman. She called him over. He was quite intoxicated. He worked for Nintendo, and he let Skiva and myself know that he was part of the team working on a VR headset. He was quite serious. The reporter was like, you need to be quiet now. So she knew the deal. This was something that we were like, as soon as it was over, it was like, holy shit, did this guy just say this? And he did. And this was all before these rumors came out. And I definitely think something is going on. He even talked about a Zelda thing that they were working on, like a Zelda Nintendo thing. So I definitely think it's true.
I hope it's a game.
Yeah.
I hope it's not a Zelda experience, because I'll fucking freak out. I don't want to experience. I don't want to.
It's a headset. He's said they were working on a headset.
Yeah,
it's a standalone headset.
Well, I see. I know that, but I mean, I guess I just want the real games, and I would say that it is real too, just because I've went in today or yesterday for the first time and actually started playing Odyssey, and they've got the option for Labo, right, for VR. But I mean, as I'm looking around and I'm doing different stuff, there's no reason why a regular headset couldn't just pick up and use everything they use for Labo with a headset, right? And so that's probably baked into these games anyway, and has been.
Yeah, there was a way that you could play those Labo games through your PlayStation VR 1 if you hooked it up the right way. And you couldn't, it didn't like have 6-stop head tracking or anything, but you could play it in legit 3D, and it looked pretty decent actually. So yeah. But no, I think it's real. The source of the hardware leak was supposedly a pretty reputable source who has leaked other things about Nintendo in the past that have come to pass. And the rumor is that Nintendo is collaborating with Google on a standalone headset. So it's not going to be like a thing where you slide your Switch down in it and kind of do cell phone VR like Gear VR style, but it's actually going to be a standalone headset that's pretty much manufactured by Google with Nintendo creating software for it, which is amazing. That's what everyone wants, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Anyways, if you want to talk about that and more, hit us up on Discord. You'll find the link in the description down below. It's an invitation. It is free. It is where we hang out 24/7, 365 with our homies. We're there lurking all the time. Drop by and say hello. We will be there to greet you at the door, I assure you. And with that said, friends, I'd like to thank you all once again for watching. For Ruuts and Eric, I'm Wes. We'll see you in a few days, maybe tomorrow. Bye.
They